Mike Greenberg, weekdays at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. And now, watch exclusively on ESPN Plus.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
This is Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
113 days and now 5 hours. The countdown is on to Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, Trevor Town.
I was going to say you were 13 days too long, 100 days until my wedding.
Oh, gosh, I forgot about that. By the way, have you invited Trevor Lawrence to your wedding?
I'm thinking about it. I might add one more. See, well, actually, at this point, we're only allowed to have 10 people, so I probably shouldn't be inviting more.
Well, is Foles still coming since you guys are like practically neighbors, or I guess?
Oh,
not
he
anymore.
moved.
He moved.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
He just moved out. I mean, come on, man. You're Nick Foles. You got enough money. You can still have a house in Jacksonville.
He didn't even have a goodbye party for us.
Yeah. He probably still owns the house. When's Lawrence getting married? He's getting married sometime too, right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, he's engaged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you could stay engaged for as long as you want. But how long have you been engaged, Coos?
Since literally the pandemic started.
Yep. Perfect timing, man.
Were you bored?
Like, yeah, I guess so. No, literally, like March. What was it? March 14th. The
Wow.
like day everything locked down. That was when it happened.
That was it. Now, was that would have been, was that players the week after the players, or that would have been Saturday of the players?
That was Saturday of the players, and Nicole only had off because the players got canceled, and that was the only reason I was able to do it that day.
Wow, so you kind of pulled that quickly, though, in terms of making it that day. If the players was on, you wouldn't have proposed that day.
No, I planned to talk to her dad that day, and then when I found out she had off and we were all just going to have dinner, I was like, all right, well, I've got this ring in my pocket. I might as well use it.
So now be honest, when you talked to her dad, was there a little like hesitation? Like, did he think on it a little bit? Was he like, I got to sleep on this one? I'll let you know tomorrow?
He didn't, but he also probably felt bad because I literally got in a car crash on the way to go ask him.
Oh, that's genius, Coos. On purpose, obviously, right?
I don't.
You want to soften that question a little bit.
I don't know. Yeah, it was bad.
I'm back.
I didn't realize we lost.
We didn't even hear it gone.
Oh, I couldn't hear you guys.
We good?
Well, yeah, no, you're good.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool.
Oh, good thing
Everyone's
I didn't swear
good.
or anything. I thought I'd gone away.
No.
But anyway, I couldn't hear you guys for a little bit. But we had a little bit of that yesterday, Coos, on the show, like the early part of the show, and then it straightened all out. So I don't know if when I initially plug into my Ethernet here from home, maybe it takes a little bit to get cranked up. But
it's probably that Pac-Man game taking up too much of that Wi-Fi.
Well, here's the deal. I just played before, but I can't concentrate. I had like a few minutes. I had like 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm going to sneak it in before I fire everything up. And I was like, I just can't focus. So I didn't do well. But I set a new high score yesterday again. I'm up to 78,000. I actually just set a record on the first board. I think I got every ghost on the first board. And I think I got every possible point on the first board.
Flex.
So,
2 flexes.
Yeah, so I mean, I am like fully addicted to Miss Pac-Man right now at the home.
I like it.
I mean, if I get 15 minutes, I'm stopping off into playing.
I like it.
So everybody looks at me in the house. They're like, "Are you seriously playing again?" Yes, I am.
Well, hey, Ty, are you going to keep on playing Fortnite or Apex Legends? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what Ty's been playing lately, but he plays plenty of video games.
Sure.
Kaylee sits on the couch and does YouTube forever.
Oof,
Steph looks up the lines at Disney for the next time she goes. I mean, listen, I'm either going to go play golf, I'm either working, or I'm going to play Miss Pac-Man for a little bit. We all have our thing. You were skateboarding today.
Yeah, man, I was skateboarding today.
How was it?
That was fun. It was good. I didn't hurt myself. I didn't go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
So it was great because basically what had happened was my son got a skateboard for Christmas.
Okay.
So since he's got a skateboard now, obviously Dad's got to kind of show him the ropes a little bit and teach him some things. So I'm trying to, dust my board off and try to get my skill set back. And it was funny because literally the first day that we're out there together and my wife was kind of just watching us with our dog, I fell really hard on my back. And my wife, you could tell, she's like, yeah, you need to stop this. Like, you're 30 years old. You're going to hurt yourself. I'm like, it'll be fine. Like, I bet Ronan goes to the emergency room before I do skateboarding. So we're going to be all good.
I mean, come on. Tony Hawk was still doing it well into his 40s,
He's
right?
still
I mean,
doing
probably
it.
still
He's
is
still doing it. Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, you got plenty of time.
Yep.
I mean, heck, I'd probably skateboard longer than fighting in a cage.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, both are kind of bad on the knees, but we'll see how long it lasts for. That's the thing, man. Like, as a kid, you can skateboard forever and not have to worry about it. In this humidity, and it's not even that humid right now, I mean, I was out there for 10 minutes. I was like, all right, I was sucking wind, Brent. It's different. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got to get that and get in skateboarding shape.
Get in skateboarding shape.
All right. Hey, Trevor Lawrence, it's done. I mean, he's declared for the draft. All eyes on Jacksonville. National media can make fun of Trevor Lawrence going to Jacksonville if they want. Who cares? He's on the way. We're going to talk to Maurice Jones-Drew a little bit later in the show. At least that's the plan. You know, he is not all in just yet. And I want to phrase that correctly. It's not like he doesn't want Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, but he's still got the caution flag out on this whole process and just handing the number one pick to Trevor Lawrence. So it'll be interesting to get his thoughts on that. There is nothing that's wavering in my mind right now about Trevor Lawrence. Again, the more I hear, I'm not a quarterback evaluator. The more I see, the more I read, and I find myself reading a heck of a lot more now than I had been the last 3 years on Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And it's just a no-doubter, man. It's about as much of a no-doubter as I can remember. Well, actually, Joe Burrow was a no-doubter last year for Cincinnati. So it's a no-doubter, right? Do you feel the same way, or do you have some reservations and want to keep the window open a little bit on Justin Fields or anybody else?
No, Brent, let's go ahead and close that window right now. It's getting chilly outside, right, because the haters are coming. No, the window is closed, and Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy. Did you see his, obviously he announced that he's going to the NFL. You see that video that he put out? I mean, how many goosebumps did you have? Have the goosebumps gone away yet?
Yeah, they've kind of gone away. But
okay, you want to talk about a nice tribute, though, to Clemson, man. That was, I'm not sure if Michael Bay directed that thing and produced that thing, but that was spot on, man. Like, well done, Trevor Lawrence. He comes across as a very humble and thankful individual, and you saw that in that video as well.
Well, and I think that was something that came across in the Heisman Trophy presentation last night, too, and we'll continue to get to know. In fact, we'll have someone that covers Clemson up close all the time on the show in just about 20 minutes and ask a little bit more about who Trevor Lawrence is. But I think that's what has people enamored just as much as the way he spins the football and obviously his prowess on the football field is, can he handle the CEO nature, if you will, of that quarterback position in the NFL? And this is a guy that looks well equipped. And the word I hear from people or see or in print, whatever it might be, is grounded. You know, super humble, humility, grounded. It's not going to be too much for him. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be like, oh, my gosh, everybody in Jacksonville loves me. You know, it's not going to be one of those type of things. And I have said this just based on the kind of star he has been since at least a sophomore in high school. I love the fact that he's been in the spotlight so much. This is not going to be, whether it was New York, whether it was here, whether it was wherever, this is not going to be too big for Trevor Lawrence. He's handled it before, and he's been handling it, I would say, really for the last 6 years. 3 years of high school, 3 years at Clemson. He's the man. And get ready for it, because he's going to be the man not only here in Jacksonville, but one of the new fresh faces of the NFL.
Brent, you brought up a great point when you use the term grounded, right? Because we always talk about, like, what do you look for at the quarterback position? And in the past, obviously, I've said you have to have the leadership, right? You have to be able to win, the arm strength. You have to have that moxie in the pocket. But maybe more importantly than anything is your ability to be grounded. Now, what do I mean by grounded? Football is a very emotional game. Right, and especially like playing defensive line. I mean, Brent, every other play, I'm calling somebody an expletive, or I'm screaming at somebody, because like that's what my position allowed me to do. The quarterback position's different, though, right? Like, I think of when Baker Mayfield first came out, or like a Johnny Manziel, right? Like, if they got a first down, or if a player said something, 9 times out of 10, they were going to jaw jack and say something back to that player, right? Now, that's just their style. They're intense individuals, and their emotions kind of show that a little bit. From what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence, he's like Joe Cool. He's calm, cool, collected. Whether it's playing a national championship game or it's just a regular ACC game, like, he has the same demeanor. And I think when you're trying to be a leader on that offense and you're trying to gain those guys around you, whether you're losing by 20, you're up by 20, you want a guy that's going to remain consistent. And I think Trevor Lawrence, above anything, he's calm and he's consistent.
Yeah, and I think that's what you hear. It's unbelievable what you hear about Trevor Lawrence. And listen, I think all these guys will have accolades, and then we're going to rip them down. I don't know if there's going to be a lot to rip down on Trevor Lawrence. We just can't say it enough around here, and I don't like to be over dramatic, but I do want to make sure we're capturing the essence of this. This is monumental in this franchise's history, Austin. You've been a part of the organization. You played here. You've been a part of this city, and we know Duval and Jacksonville and the Jaguars the last 11 out of 12 years have been brutal around here. Mm-hmm. This guy, while I do not want to present any one player as a savior, so to speak, I just think the ramifications of a player of this magnitude that checked so many boxes, that is being equal to the Andrew Lucks, Peyton Mannings, John Elways of the last few decades, those kind of names that, by the way, people didn't miss when they said that about those guys. Those guys were legit. Mm-hmm. They were good. But you couple all that with what this organization and this fan base has been through, and then you couple that with the idea that there's going to be a new regime of some sort, all the money, the draft picks, and kind of this refresh. Man, it just makes me – I told somebody last night, I said, I just feel good for everybody in Jacksonville. I feel good for everybody in the Jaguars organization. And quite frankly, I feel pretty good for us too, that we get to kind of – we get to capture this buzz. It is just, I just can't say it enough. It's a different moment around here. I've been here for a dozen years, and maybe this feels a little bit like 94 to 95 or a 96 playoff run or 99 when the Jags were 14-2. This even feels different than the playoff run of 17, although that's probably the thing I could liken it to the most. This just feels different, and this guy feels different, and this guy might be a perfect fit at the perfect time for Jacksonville, Florida.
And what I'm excited about as well, and I probably have to go back all the way to DG, who I play with, Dave Garrard, when we talk about, in terms of the skill set and in terms of the personality. I don't expect Trevor Lawrence to come to Jacksonville and have these great quotes like Gardner Minshew did. I don't expect Trevor Lawrence to rock the jean shorts, He is growing a little bit of a mustache. No comment on that, man. You're the first pick of the draft. Do whatever you want to do. But maybe like a Just for Men or something could be an endorsement for him because, it's kind of hard to tell he's got one. So maybe add a little pepper to that salt on your top lip there. But with that being said, you have a guy now, Brent, who's going to let his skills do the talking, I think, more than his off-the-field stuff. Not to say what Gardner Minshew did was wrong, because that's who Gardner Minshew was. You remember with Blake Bortles, people fell in love with Blake Bortles. He had okay arm talent, but the reason why people love Blake Bortles so much was the fact that you felt like you could relate to Blake Bortles, right? So he was kind of like that cult hero. I think with Blaine Gabbert, there was a lot of intrigue. I feel like every girl on my Facebook account used the hashtag California Dreamboat for whatever from Remember the Titans. So he had that whole thing going on. But once again, it was more of the off the field, the look more than the skill set. Now, yes, Trevor Lawrence has the long hair. He's got the resume. But most importantly, I think he has the skill set, and that trumps everything. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. While this is a little bit of just hope out there for everybody around, I think this is real deal stuff. This guy has the chance to be very good. And by the way, I've also said I think Justin Fields is going to be good. I think this quarterback class is going to be good. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I think this quarterback class has a chance to be very, very good overall in the grand scheme of things. Austin, I wanted to ask you this. What happens now that he's declared? So you went to Murray State. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to joke around a little bit. It's a little bit different circumstance. Obviously, he's been at Clemson. He's been in the spotlight. He just got off the Heisman Trophy ceremony last night.
Well, Brent, some would call Murray State the Clemson of D1 AA. So, but go on, please.
Yeah. So, what Heisman Trophy?
In basketball.
That's right. So,
what's up, John Morant?
But I guess my question to you is now, I believe after today, this morning when this came out, even though everybody knew it was going to happen eventually, and even kind of indicated it might happen today, last night, agents are calling him. Yeah. Right? I mean, is that the next step? Agents, and then where are you going to work out? And so what kind of plan is he putting together? His team now starts putting together, now that it's reality. This guy's going to the NFL. And by the way, it's pretty much reality. He's going to end up right here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Without a doubt. I think with COVID-19, it definitely flipped the script a little bit, because usually what I would say is I'm sure he would have scouts, even during the season, come meet with him and things like that and watch practices. Agents would come talk to him as well. But now with COVID-19, I feel like no one's allowed on campus. So maybe he's doing those things via Zoom or on the telephone. So what can Trevor Lawrence expect now? Obviously, the next step is to find an agent. And then the agent does a lot of things. Obviously, one of the most important things is that he gets you money. But another important thing, especially when you have declared for the NFL draft, is he gets you ready, he gets you the proper training, right? So there's a million places that Trevor Lawrence could go to refine his skills a little bit, refine his technique. As far as the combine's concerned, like, listen, you're the top overall pick of the draft, or so we think, more than likely. So as far as the combine goes, like, I'm not going to lose sleep if Trevor Lawrence, doesn't compete at the combine, right? Like, coach is always going to say, well, you got to compete, you got to compete. Not when you're the first pick of the draft. You can do whatever you want. So I don't expect him really doing much at the combine. The Senior Bowl, he's not a senior, but I'm sure they would still take him. I'm not sure if he's going to go to the Senior Bowl either. So right now, I think the biggest step for Trevor Lawrence going forward is finding that right agent, that guy that you gel with, and then going forward from there, getting the proper training that you need to get your body ready for the next level.
How hard is that, Austin? I know, again, when you had to pick an agent, you just picked an agent? Did people call you? And by the way, again, with no disrespect, this is going to be 100-fold for him. Like, every agent in the game wants Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So, like, how does that, just even that, I would think is a very difficult thing, because that agent means a lot. That could be the start of a long-term 20-year, 30-year, 50-year relationship. It could also be the guy that makes some wrong decisions for you, on the field, off the field, where to direct you. It's a critical decision for Trevor Lawrence and who he chooses.
Yeah, so I think me and Trevor Lawrence are definitely going to differ here, because I was in a unique circumstance where I came from a small school, right? So I wasn't getting calls from Drew Rosenhaus and all the top guys. I was getting calls from, like, guys that are trying to do their startups that are trying to make it. And spoiler alert, there's thousands of those guys out there that are trying to start their own agency. So I would be getting just random phone calls. How they got my number, I have no idea. But this would happen during the season, and it's almost like you're back in high school and you're getting recruited again. And to be honest with you, it was a little bit of annoying, because I'm going through my senior year, and, we're supposed to make some noise and go to the playoff and all this stuff. And I'm just trying to focus on, being a senior. And I'm getting these phone calls every night from people that I don't know saying, hey, we want to represent you. Hey, can we come have some dinner with you? So eventually, what made my decision really easy for me was I signed with XAM Sports, and they're no longer a thing, but they used to represent guys like Kevin Boss, Connor Barwin, Colin Kaepernick. So they had some pretty big names. And what sold me on them was, and I'll never forget this, the guy, his name was Jason, called me up, and he goes, hey, man, here's who we represent. Here's what we're all about. But you just go out there, and if you're interested, you let me know. So he kind of, like, left the ball in my court a little bit. He said, like, I understand you're a senior right now. There's big things ahead for you. You just focus on that. But just, if you have a question, give me a call. But just keep us in the back of your head when the season's over. All right, great. So it was like the second to last game of the season. I hit him up. I'm like, hey, I'm at Murray State right now. Obviously, it's a dry county, so restaurants are limited, but let's go to Applebee's. If you want to buy me a quesadilla burger, so be it. But, we sat down, we met, and then I signed from there, just because they seem to get the game and they seem to get my mindset. So it was a pretty easy decision for me. For Trevor Lawrence, he's the top dog. Everyone's going to be coming to him. And the cool thing about Trevor Lawrence is the fact that it seems like he's got a great family on his, he's got a great head on his shoulders, number one, and he's got a great family and support system. So, yeah, signing with Drew Rosenhaus might be the ticket. But at the end of the day, once again, I think with Trevor Lawrence's personality and his skill set, no matter who he goes with, he's going to be successful. So it's all about just trying to find that right fit of, hey, who do you want to talk to every single day? Who's not going to drive you crazy?
Yeah, and not only that, he's got guys that have done it before, right? And been in the league, most notably Deshaun Watson, who is a supreme talent, but also off the field, a guy that can make a lot of money. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. And, there are agents that obviously have, if you look at Jimmy Sexton, he's got like all the coaches, right? Mulugeta is the hottest name out there right now, or one of the hot names out there. If you're looking at Jalen Ramsey and Deshaun Watson, and there's several more, but I know those two. So it'll be interesting to see which way Trevor Lawrence goes. I mean, could it be as much of a family friend that they know, or is it this big hot shot agent? Where's the comfort zone for Trevor Lawrence? One last thing before we take a break and then come back and talk more about Trevor Lawrence. What would you advise him? You mentioned the combine. See, does it matter if he throws and does all that stuff? He's certainly going to be there for interviews and all the rest. But there's been a big thing lately of guys not throwing or throwing, and I like the way he wants to compete. Listen, Trevor Lawrence could go throw it backwards at the combine, and I still think he's going to be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
He's got nothing to lose there. I mean, it was way riskier to come back and play his senior or his junior year in college than it is to throw at the combine. No. So do you would you just say, hey, man, go have fun with the whole process. Go do it. As long as you're healthy and you feel good, go do it. Here's
the cool thing about Trevor Lawrence. The hard part's done already, right? Like, he's played college football. He has his film out there. The hard part is done. Now just go enjoy the experience, right? Like, not every player can go to the combine, right? Not every player can maybe go to the Senior Bowl if he wants to do that. But the point of the matter is, like, if you're Trey Lance, if you're Zach Wilson, if you're Kyle Trask, and you said you don't want to throw at the combine, what are the coaches going to say? Oh, well, we want a guy to compete. Why aren't you throwing at the combine? You should be competing. If I'm Trevor Lawrence and they say that to me, you know what I'm going to say? Check the film. All right, just watch the film. That's all you need to know. Enough said.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to go to Clemson and talk to a reporter who covers Trevor Lawrence. Wrote a good story in The Athletic yesterday about Trevor Lawrence leading into the Heisman. And let's learn a little bit more about Trevor Lawrence. It's on. Trevor Lawrence is going to the NFL, and if we all had to bet, he's coming here to Jacksonville. More Trevor Lawrence talk, much more to get to, including a seismic shift perhaps in the AFC South with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags getting the number 1 pick, and everything that's on the line in 2021. Plus, Maurice Jones-Drew joins us later in the show to talk why he's not 100% committed to Trevor Lawrence just yet. It's all in the way. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly to partly sunny, bit cool today, highs in the low to mid-60s. Join me beginning at 5 p.m. for CBS 47 at Fox 30. Action News Jacks from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, where you get the lowest diamond price guaranteed or your money back.
Let's say you have ED, male impotence, or maybe you suffer from PE and can't satisfy your partner. If you have either or both of these embarrassing conditions, Prime Men's Medical Center has the solution. Meet Dr. Rabinski, a specialist in men's health.
If you're experiencing ED or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center has custom blended medications designed just for you. There's no pain and no surgery. If you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or prostate issues, not a problem. If Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra have let you down, Prime Men's Medical Center has patients lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer. You'll see results on your first visit guaranteed, or your visit is free. And best of all, it's affordable.
For a private consultation with our highly skilled physicians, call 904-206-8105. We guarantee that you'll see results on your first visit, or there's no charge for your consult. Call Prime Men's Medical Center now at 904-206-8105. That's 904-206-8105.
You probably played this as a kid, especially if you had siblings. Put a kink in the garden hose when your brother's trying to use it, then once the nozzles turn towards him, let it go. It's more fun when you're the older brother. The thing is, even a slight kink will reduce water flow to a trickle, and Flex Duct is like that too. Now you might be thinking,
it can't be that screwed up, can it? I can still feel air coming out of the vents.
And without working in air conditioning my whole life, I might think the same thing. Unfortunately, it can and often is that screwed up. Kinked and spaghetti ductwork, hairpin turns, it's why our techs take pictures. And just because airflow is coming out of the vent doesn't mean it's adequate airflow. It's why Griffin service techs measure airflow and static pressure rather than just feeling with their hands and guessing. Because without adequate airflow, performance turns into turd buckets. The good news, it doesn't take that much work to dramatically improve airflow and comfort. The better news, from now until February, you can get a deal on fixing your ductwork. But only if you call
GriffinService.com.
License number 1250697.
If you love golf or know somebody who does, you need to get this deal. 8 rounds of golf for less than $12 per round plus cart fees with a Dream 18 golf cart at great area golf courses like St. John's Golf and Country Club, Amelia River Golf Club, and Eagle Landing Golf Club. And this isn't just a golf cart. Get a free shirt from Baker Sports, a free hat at Dome Hats, and a free smoothie from Smoothie King, plus 15% off any purchase at Palm Beach Autographs. Go to ESPN690.com to purchase the Dream 18 cart for $95. Hundreds of dollars in savings and the perfect gift.
I'm Action News Jax Tanika Hughes, and one of the great things about living in Jacksonville is our diverse communities. It's so important that the local stories we cover in our newscasts reflect the people who live here. That's why we've launched Action News Jax Gets Real, to get real on issues like racism, housing challenges, and unequal access to health care. It's having difficult conversations, as well as celebrating people making a difference. This is Action News Jax Gets Real. Real talk, real change.
Get more in 2021 when you shop Arlington Toyota, like Arlington's 30-day exchange policy. That's 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. How about a national lifetime warranty with unlimited time and miles? And that comes with your purchase. Plus, with Arlington's Credit for Everyone program, if your Beacon score is from 450 to 850, almost everyone is approved. With 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 11,000 reviews, it's time to get more in 2021 with Arlington Toyota. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Saying goodbye to a loved one is never easy. Hi, I'm Larry Self, owner of The Casket Store. For the past 20 years, we've been helping people plan ahead with affordable options and quality products. Often people are caught by surprise and in the midst of their grief end up paying much more for the exact same casket. We offer cemetery headstones, bronze markers, caskets, urns, and more at 40 to 70% off standard funeral prices. Please visit us at thecasketstore.com.
You'll never paint your house again. Call the Coating Man.
The only company who offers the world's best paint and the most advanced protective coatings on the market, guaranteed never to fade, chip, crack, or peel for as long as you own your home. Call for a free estimate by the end of the month and receive up to 40% off. Call 888-COAT-USA. That's 888-COAT-USA. Or visit their showroom, 2000 Wells Road.
Call the Coating Man.
The hardest part of any goal is oftentimes getting started. All month long, we're going to help you get started on the path for a happier you for free and without even leaving your home. If your business would like to get involved, visit GetStartedJax.com. That's GetStartedJax.com.
Brent Martineau.
Some NBA play-by-play here this week as well, right here on ESPN 690.
Austin Lane.
Hey, you all right?
Yeah, I know. You looked over like, are you going to make it?
Yeah, man. I'm making sure we're all good here.
Hey, listen, I get choked up about the new lineup.
Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690.
The virus is one of those things where not everyone's experience is the same, so I don't want to paint with a broad brush or speak for everyone, but obviously I had mild symptoms. It's definitely weird and interesting, and never really expected that I was going to have to miss, 2 of the biggest games of the year for it. So that obviously sucked, but just taught me how to lead through adversity, and how to not physically be there with my team, but try to just do everything I can to make an impact. And I feel like I did a decent job of that, and just trying to help DJ when he had to play, and then coming back with a lot more enthusiasm, and really had a greater appreciation for what we get to do every day when you have to miss, 10 to 14 days. It's kind of rough just sitting at home while everybody else is practicing and getting ready.
That is Trevor Lawrence declaring for the NFL draft earlier this morning. No question about it. It was going to happen. And quite frankly, I don't think there's any question about it. It's going to happen that Trevor Lawrence lands in Jacksonville, Florida with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brent Martineau along with former Jags player Austin Lane and Coos here on a Wednesday. And listen, this place is buzzing about Trevor Lawrence, the reality of it. And at the same time, trying to find a new head coach, which we'll get into a little bit more, and a new general manager. A complete refresh of the Jacksonville Jaguars organization. And what a way to start it off, potentially, with the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. That certainly could be Trevor Lawrence. We are going to Clemson right now, or at least I think she's in the Clemson area, and we welcome in Grace Raynor from The Athletic. She covers the Clemson Tigers, has covered Trevor Lawrence. Grace, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. Terrific article on Trevor leading up to the Heisman Trophy yesterday.
Well, thank you so much. Happy New Year to y'all. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you can maybe hear the excitement or energy in my voice, but I'm just trying to encapsulate what everybody here in Jacksonville is feeling. I mean, you might have seen it on Twitter already, but this place is pretty fired up. This is an organization that's obviously struggled, and now you get a chance not only at the number 1 pick, but maybe perfect timing and a generational talent, everybody keeps saying. How excited should Jaguars fans be about the prospects of Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a Jags fan, I would be absolutely thrilled. I mean, Trevor, from the moment that he got to Clemson, he managed every expectation. He lived up to every ounce of hype that came with his recruitment. He got better every year. He was sensational off the field. I mean, if I'm an NFL GM and I'm looking for my franchise quarterback, I can't think of a better pick than Trevor Lawrence at this point.
Grace, obviously with Trevor Lawrence, I mean, there was a couple Jaguars fans here, just a few that thought, well, what happens if he stays at Clemson, right? Because I guess they're gluttons for punishment, or Jaguars fans. But with that being said, Trevor Lawrence, he releases the video today. I mean, just beautifully done, well edited. Steven Spielberg might have did it. Was there ever a doubt at Clemson that Trevor Lawrence is going to stay another year, or was the writing on the wall where he was definitely gone after this season?
Yeah, I think the writing was on the wall. I mean, I think, Trevor was very intentional about wanting to stay in the moment, and that was something that he really every single week made a point about how he wanted to stay in the present, and that when he made his NFL decision, the world would know about it, but for the time being, he wanted to enjoy whatever time he had left at Clemson. But we knew he was graduating. We knew he had said before the season started on a segment with Game Day that he was planning on this being his final year. After he graduated, he made a joke about how grad school is not currently in the cards when he got asked about it. And so, the writing has been on the wall all season, but he just wanted to kind of do it on his own terms and do it on his own time and do it the way he wanted to. And so that was what you saw this morning.
Grace Raynor with us from The Athletic, covers Clemson football, has covered Trevor Lawrence, wrote a fantastic story about Trevor Lawrence in the last couple of days leading up to the Heisman Trophy presentation where Trevor Lawrence was a finalist. Grace, it's interesting if you look at the football side of it. I'll watch a highlight video of Trevor Lawrence, and I'm not a talent evaluator by any means, but throws a beautiful ball, checks the boxes, 6'6". He's athletic. He can run, makes every throw. What I really like about him actually on the football side is he has some great touch. We've seen guys with big arms not be able to throw that soft touch pass, throw that changeup, if you will. In fact, we had that guy in Blaine Gabbert. He could not take anything off the fastball and be able to hit a receiver on maybe a screen pass or just a little wheel route or whatever it might be. Those were harder throws for him. I like that about Trevor Lawrence. But then there's this other side where I almost feel like people, after you watch and listen and read about people who are around Trevor Lawrence, that they almost like this guy off the field more. The leadership qualities, the man who he is, the ability to handle being the number one pick, being a franchise quarterback in the NFL. What do you like most about him, the football side or the other stuff that is important, by the way, at the NFL level if you're going to play quarterback and be the franchise guy?
Sure. I mean, there's just so much to like. I'll start with the football side. You talked to Dabo Swinney about Trevor Lawrence, and he says he basically has a photographic memory, and it's pretty remarkable to interview him after he comes off the field, and he can replay every play in his brain for you. He can tell you exactly what type of coverage they were in. He can tell you exactly where he went wrong, if he threw an interception, what it was supposed to be. I mean, he just processes so incredibly well, and I think that we sometimes take that for granted because he does make it look so easy. And then as a runner, I think we've seen last year and into this year, like Trevor has some wheels. He can scoot a little bit. And so just a guy that got more versatile and better and just had such command of Clemson's offense with each year. And I think that his mind and the way that it works is going to be perfect for the NFL level. But then off the field, Trevor has been the same person every single day. I can honestly say I've never seen him mad, annoyed, upset in media settings. I mean, no one was under the microscope quite like Trevor has been since he got to Clemson. No one has been under as much scrutiny. And it was really cool to kind of see him, figure out, okay, here's what I care about, and here's what I'm going to stand up for off the field, and here's how I'm going to use my voice, and here's how I'm going to take my platform and use it for good. And so I think that was something that he said in his video this morning, was that he hopes he's remembered at Clemson for the way he treated people. And I would certainly say that's a mission accomplished, because he just treats everyone with such respect and kindness, and is the same guy every single day.
Grace, a quarterback that came before Trevor Lawrence at Clemson was Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm not sure if you were there when Deshaun Watson was playing, but, you kind of had the feeling that Deshaun Watson could be something special. There's a couple red flags, a couple question marks about the arm talent and all that stuff, but overall, people thought he was going to be successful. Well, now you have a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who's always been kind of the front runner. He's won a national championship himself. Like, as Trevor Lawrence is leaving now, like, do you hear, I guess, kind of like the murmurs and stuff of people around Clemson saying, look, man, we thought Deshaun Watson was going to be good, but wait till they get a hold of Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, I think Clemson looks at it in the sense of it's kind of this running joke at Clemson about how they keep signing these quote-unquote generational quarterbacks. And now the word generational basically means like every 3 years. And so obviously Deshaun set the stage at Clemson. There is absolutely no doubt that Clemson is not what it is without Deshaun and the foundation that he laid. But I think Clemson's coaches and fans were still pretty optimistic about Trevor, knowing that they were going to be in good hands. And then really, 4 or 5 weeks into his freshman year, he wins the starting job. He beats out Kelly Bryant, who was the senior incumbent at that time. And I think it just took a couple of games for people to see his arm and just to see the way that he processed things. And it was pretty clear, okay, Clemson might have just won his first national title since 1981, but this seems like it's going to be a domino effect. And as we know, Trevor just played in his third college football playoff.
Grace Raynor with us from The Athletic. I know you got to run in a couple moments, so let me just ask you 2 quick questions. One being, I like Trevor Lawrence maybe more than Justin Fields in this draft, and I do like Justin Fields, by the way, because I think Lawrence's floor is going to be higher. I think even if things don't go unbelievable, this guy's going to still be pretty good. How stunned would you be if he's not an at least good quarterback in the NFL?
Oh, I will be very surprised. I mean, I think Trevor has the makings of one of the all-time greats, and I think that he kind of proved that at Clemson. Again, he came in with all this hype and all this expectation out of high school, but we didn't really know how that was going to translate onto the college field. And then as a true freshman, he leads Clemson past Alabama 44-16, and all of a sudden you've got NFL GM saying, I would take that guy number 1 right now, reportedly. And so I will be very, very surprised if Trevor doesn't have a remarkable year. I just think that he has everything that you want in a franchise quarterback.
And one last question for you. We've heard Urban Meyer's a hot name around here. Dan Mullen's name has been whispered. Matt Rule went from Baylor to Carolina. We're seeing Kingsbury into the pros in the NFL. It felt like Dabo's name had been kind of out there a little bit to maybe he'll go to the NFL. I'm not hearing any of that. We don't hear Dabo's name at all. Why is that? And could there be any type of stunner that Dabo Swinney jumps in the fray somewhere along the way, not just in Jacksonville, but anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, Dabo has always been a coach that has said never say never. And in the past, a lot of that has been the response to the questions that he's fielded about Alabama and becoming, the successor to Nick Saban. And so he's always been a never say never kind of guy. But he's also been extremely intentional and very upfront about the fact that he has everything he could ever want at Clemson, and he's super happy at Clemson. And obviously he has built this juggernaut. Clemson is a dynasty under his leadership and because of his program and his culture. So I would be surprised to see him make the jump to the NFL. I think his style is better suited for, teenagers, young guys in their 20s anyway. So it would surprise me, but I don't know. I mean, 2020 also surprised me in so many ways. So I feel like I'm probably never going to say anything with any sort of definitive nature, maybe for the rest of my life.
Yeah, fair enough. Grace Raynor. Go ahead.
Real quick, so obviously, hopefully the Jaguars, at least in my opinion, I hope they get Trevor Lawrence. And expecting his arrival here on draft day, I've been doing my research, my due diligence, and I've kind of come across an off-beaten article on SouthernLiving.com of all places. And in this article, a couple of his teammates have said that the guy is a baby whisperer. Now, is there any truth to those legs? Like, have you heard, is he great with kids or something like that? Because I find it quite weird that a bunch of his teammates have come forward and said that he's great with kids.
That is really funny. I have not heard that, but just being around Trevor, I could definitely see it. He just has kind of this calming presence, and especially for someone who's 6'6" and stands out like he does. I don't know. He just has a very chill vibe that I think that people in Jacksonville will pick up on very quickly. I've heard he's not very good at video games. I will tell you that. I've heard that he's actually a pretty awful Madden quarterback. But the baby whisperer thing, I don't think that would surprise me that much. He kind of has that soft side.
Grace Raynor, great insight on Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, you've got me going back and reading all your articles now over the years on Trevor Lawrence, and probably the rest of Jacksonville. You can do that on The Athletic. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime down the road.
That sounds awesome. Thank y'all so much for having me.
You bet. That is Grace Raynor. A really good article that I read yesterday in The Athletic, and appreciate Grace coming on and talking about Trevor Lawrence. And now we will get a lot of different points of view, right, Austin, on Trevor Lawrence. Ironically, I've already heard a lot of points of view.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be that different. This is not a polarizing guy. This is not a guy I think he is who he is, and I think that's what people appreciate, from Urban Meyer, we had his sound on earlier this week talking about this is a guy that demands and commands respect, and that's what he loves about Trevor Lawrence, because you better play for your quarterback in the game of football. He does that, and he does look a bit unflappable, and he's even keel. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of different perspectives than the one Grace gave us.
No, without a doubt. I mean, and like I was talking about before, in terms of a personality of a quarterback, you want that even kind of dude. He's never too high. He's never too low. Especially when things, you're facing adversity, you want a guy that you can depend on and a guy to keep you calm. Now, if you're a defensive lineman, if you're a linebacker, even if you're a wide receiver, then it's different. If you're a cornerback like Jalen Ramsey, then it's different. But I think the quarterback position, you have to be poised, but you still have to be calm.
Hey, still to come here, I want to talk about the AFC South. It's interesting we're bringing up Deshaun Watson. Did you see his tweet last night? And Are we about to see this seismic shift in the AFC South, at least with two of the teams? Because my point being, the Jags have an opportunity. Jason Fitz brought this up. If you look down the road some maybe 3 years, they have an opportunity, if they make a lot of good decisions, and they're correct on those decisions, that they could be the team to beat for a while in the AFC South. But in the interim, in the immediate future, they really have a chance, in my estimation, to separate themselves from a team that they haven't been able to do much against, and that is the Houston Texans. We talk a little bit about Houston, Deshaun Watson. Why isn't Houston interviewing Eric Bieniemy? I thought he was the favorite in the offseason during the season to go to Houston. That didn't even look like they were going to give him a chance. And by the way, reportedly, Bieniemy interviewing with the Jaguars today. More on the coaching search. More on Houston and the Jags dynamic on the way on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. Last night, the most prestigious award in college football was awarded to Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith. Here he is on what it's like to win.
It's just unbelievable. Just coming from a small place like that, you just really have to work it day in and day out and just believe in yourself. And if don't nobody else believe you, you just have to believe in yourself and just prove everybody wrong.
He is the first receiver to win a Heisman since Desmond Howard in 1991. Presumed number one pick and probably future Jag Trevor Lawrence finished second in the Heisman voting. Speaking of the Jags, they have requested to interview with Saints VP, Assistant GM of Pro Personnel, Terry Fontenot, to fill the vacant GM job. The Sports Center Update is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade for Phil Aiken Home Team Keller Williams Realty. I'm talking with Greg and Gary about their recent home sale. Why did you call Phil Aiken?
We called Phil Aiken because we had heard that his team will sell your house quickly and for more money than any of the other realtors in town.
Tell us what happened.
Phil Aiken and his A-team, they will make the process very easy. Sold in 4 days and got over asking price.
Well, that's great. So how did you think they were able to sell it so fast?
Because Phil has the buyers and they have the team that can get the job done quickly and stress-free.
What would you tell a friend who is looking for a real estate agent to sell their home?
Would I recommend Phil Aiken and the A-team? Absolutely.
Well, the results speak for themselves, right? Phil Aiken and his team have the systems and will even guarantee to sell your home in writing or buy it himself.
Yes, we got better results than we expected.
Thanks, Gary. Friends, hire the agent with the buyers looking to buy a home right now. Call Phil Aiken. Call 500-PHIL. That's 500-PHIL, or visit philhasthebuyers.com.
No matter what you are driving, you can step up to luxury now at any of the Fields Auto Group dealerships in Jacksonville. Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Yes, it's luxury for less at all Fields Auto Group locations in Jacksonville. Plus, you'll also be part of their exclusive Fields Amenities program, where you will get complimentary loaners, car washes, and cafes. So whatever you're driving, see Fields first and step up to luxury for less during this amazing opportunity. Visit fieldsauto.com.
If you love golf, you need to get this deal. 8 rounds of golf for less than $12 per round plus cart fees with the Dream 18 golf card at great area golf courses like Queens Harbor Yacht and Country Club, Fleming Island Golf Club, and 6 others. And this isn't just a golf card. Get a free shirt from Baker Sports, a free hat at Dome Hats, and a free smoothie from Smoothie King, plus 15% off any purchase at Palm Beach Autographs. Go to ESPN690.com to purchase the Dream 18 card for $95. Hundreds of dollars in savings and the perfect gift.
Slip and falls can be embarrassing, leaving you in pain and feeling like you've lost control. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. After a fall, document the scene by taking photographs. Make sure to get medical attention for any injuries you may have. If you've been injured in a slip and fall, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation. And take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
People have been isolated for months by COVID-19. If you're concerned for someone who may be experiencing sexual violence or in need of confidential anonymous information, please call the Florida Sexual Violence Hotline at 888-956-7273 or go online to fcasv.org. Help us end sexual and dating violence in Florida. This message is sponsored by the Florida Department of Health, the Florida Council Against Sexual Violence, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Though no longer little, teens still need a lot of love. Yet teens in foster care have a harder time finding it, as 82% of foster families are home to kids 12 or younger. You can positively impact a teen's life as a foster parent. With help from Family Support Services of North Florida, you provide patience, love, and understanding, and Family Support Services will offer specialized training, resources, and a community of support. Take the next step at foster-now.org. That's foster-now.org.
For the ones standing guard. For the eagle-eyed. For the knights in shining armor. And for all those who support them. We are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Hope you catch the show Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. But if you can't catch it, or if you want to go back and listen again, check out the Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 podcast. Just search ESPN 690 in your podcast app.
Pretty much like a day or two, just try to organize everyone, and they didn't do as much of the groundwork as a lot of other guys like Darian and some other people, so I can't take credit for that. But just all of us getting on, Zooms and FaceTimes and discussing things and how we wanted to go about it, what our next steps were, and just trying to put that together as fast as we can, just trying to beat the clock on whether or not these schools will start, or conferences were going to start calling the season. So we were kind of a race against time, and obviously it worked out, and it was cool to be a part of.
That is Trevor Lawrence, declared for the NFL draft in 2021, and you know who has the number 1 draft pick in April. That is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Brent Martineau here, Austin Lane in the Action Sports Shack studios. I believe, to me, that is still one of the most impressive things I saw not only Trevor Lawrence do, I don't want to give him just the only credit, but Justin Fields too. They took a leadership role in this offseason, if you will, amongst college athletes, which that does not usually happen outside of maybe your own football team or any sports team or your own campus. Mm-hmm. This went beyond that. This went all over the country in the COVID-19, Black Lives Matter movement. There were conversations about playing, all this stuff. And these two guys who had a lot to lose, I don't want to say a lot to lose, but they could at least risk more than maybe the other person going into this past season. And they took the leadership role in it, man. I mean, I've been saying this for months, and I said it when it happened. I love that about those two guys, that they did that. I think if I'm an NFL exec, if I'm an NFL coach, if I'm sitting there in that room, that does stand out to me. I love the check in the box of the height, the throws, the everything. But that really stands out if I'm looking for a leader of my locker room and football team going forward.
No, without a doubt. Listen, like you mentioned, when you got to step up like that, right? When your college season's on the line, when you're talking about, social and racial injustice, like those are some pretty heavy topics, right? And I get it. Like you're in college, you're considered an adult, but still, you already have a lot on your plate as it is, being the quarterback of some of the best teams in the country. But then you take it upon yourself to be that leader, to be that vocal person. It says a lot about both their characters.
All right, I wanted to ask you this because Jason Fitz talked a little bit about the AFC South, and I'm not going to talk about the Titans and Colts right now, but Houston is kind of a mess from the outside looking in. You know, they were before even this last week, but then you add to it Jack Easterby and the Nick Caserio connection, so which means Easterby still is very much involved, it looks like, again, from the outside looking in. And then you saw Deshaun Watson's tweet last night.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think that was really football related.
You don't think it was?
No, I think he was talking about Jacob Blake, the guy in Milwaukee that got shot.
So
like
that
7.
wasn't. I didn't see the fallout from that. I just kind of assumed it was. The initial thought was about Houston.
I think it was more about Jake. I mean, listen, I have no idea, but I assume because that was kind of the hot topic last night when that announcement came out. So
okay, so that's fair, and I don't know if he even has clarified that since.
Yeah.
But even take that away, I just think again, I would say this a week ago. If you look at Houston where they're at with the lack of draft picks, with really the money situation they have there, I think some aging talent, including J.J. Watt. What do you do with him? He's got such a great resume, probably pretty costly, but at the same time it looks like play's about to decline. They're actually kind of in a similar situation maybe as the Jags were with Calais Campbell, I think is a decent argument to make. And you know how much he means to their organization. But now you look at the Jags. I mean, 2021 could be this huge pivot, don't you believe, between the Houston organization and the Jags organization. And again, I'll leave the other two out for now. But 2021 alone, the way this job looks and what they have going forward versus what Houston has, we could see a big-time flip-flop that could have ramifications for quite some time.
Yeah, there definitely could be a paradigm shift because, listen, it always helps when you have a legitimate quarterback. And Deshaun Watson this year led the NFL in total yards. So, I mean, he's a legit quarterback. But the question remains, what do you have around him? Do you have the offense to support him? Do you have the offensive line to protect him? Do you have the running back to take the pressure off? Do you have the wide receivers that can go out there and go get it? And right now the answer to all those questions is, not sure. So when you have that, well, what happens? You got to build in the draft. Well, you spent a lot of draft capital to get, Laramie Tunzel and players like that. So now you're stuck in a hard place where it's like, well, you got to improve the roster. You got to build around Deshaun Watson. You trade away, DeAndre Hopkins. How can you build around him? Unfortunately, the catch-22 is you really can't because you don't have a lot to work with right now. So I agree with you. I mean, listen, they're always going to have a shot because they have the quarterback that can lead them. But if the NFL has shown us anything, you can have a great quarterback, but you better have some guys around him to take the pressure off.
I think I saw something. I think it was on Showtime, the Inside the NFL stuff, where they had J.J. Watt mic'd up, where they picked up him talking to Deshaun Watson coming off the field, and he basically said, I'm sorry. He did. He said, I'm sorry to Deshaun Watson. He said, we just wasted one of your years. He said, we should have won 11 games. Yeah. Like, if your quarterback plays like that, you should not be whatever they were, 4-12 or I think they were 4-12. So they should not be that. They wasted a year. I mean, of excellent play from Deshaun Watson. But the question is what you just said. I mean, can they fix it? Will this take a couple years to fix it? Meanwhile, you have the Jags going to get their franchise quarterback. And if it works out, fair question. New coach, new regime. If it works out, again, fair question. But you really have a chance to separate. And right now, the Jags haven't been able to separate from anybody. And so I think that is an important narrative and something to watch, even if you can separate from one team, Austin, and maybe create a situation where, you remember, like when you were playing, Indianapolis was dominant against the Jags. Why? Because of Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Well, so if you can have that dominance, and then I would take it a step further and say what Jason Fitz said yesterday. You look at the Titans. Well, they've got about a 2 or 3 year window with Derrick Henry and maybe even Tannehill. And you look at Indianapolis. Well, they're still in their search for their quarterback, and if they miss over the next year or two, well, then they're going to be spinning their tires a bit. So this is an incredible next 1 to 3 years to keep an eye on the AFC South.
Without a doubt. And it really is a good question of how appealing is this Houston Texans job from a head coaching standpoint. Because, I mean, the hardest thing is the quarterback. The quarterback is there. But you're entering a situation that seems to be a dumpster fire right now in terms of your draft capital and the players you can keep. Like, if they lose J.J. Watt, that's a huge blow. Now, I don't get it twisted. I understand J.J. Watt's on the back nine of his career. But from a leadership standpoint, from a locker room presence and being a pillar of that team, that would be a huge loss as well.
All right, more to come. We'll talk more about Trevor Lawrence, his impact on potentially the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little bit later on, Maurice Jones-Drew's thoughts on what's happening at the number one pick and how he's not 100% sold on that front. More to get to, including the NFL playoffs. How do we see that shaking out? And the Heisman Trophy, did they get it right? All on the way on Action Sports Shacks on ESPN 690.
We should always be looking at our finances, but 2020 made my family take an even closer look, a bit more of a deeper dive, and it might have done the same for you, even into the world of retirement. Although that's a bit down the road for me, it might be closer for you, and your plan should already be under a microscope, and you have to lean on the experts to help guide the right plan. My friend Mike Lester with Talon Wealth Management is the perfect partner. He will provide a complimentary analysis and a plan for you. Call him at 904-515-5000 or visit guardingyournestegg.com. That's 904-515-5000 or guardingyournestegg.com. Mike will give you the guidance you need as retirement gets closer. He can help you convert company plans to private plans, a move that might give you higher returns and more options. You've earned the money. Now make sure you are ready for whenever retirement will be. Call Mike Lester at Talon Wealth Management, 904-515-5000. That's 904-515-5000. Or visit guardingyournestegg.com. If you love golf, you need to get this deal. 8 rounds of golf for less than $12 a round, plus card fees, with the Dream 18 golf card at great area golf courses like the Golf Club at Southampton, the Club at Osprey Cove, and Hidden Hills Golf Club. And this isn't just a golf cart. Get a free shirt from Baker Sports, a free hat at Dome Hats, and a free smoothie from Smoothie King, plus 15% off any purchase at Palm Beach Autographs. Go to ESPN690.com to purchase the Dream 18 card for just $95. Hundreds of dollars in savings and the perfect gift.
Get more in 2021 when you shop Arlington Toyota, like Arlington's 30-day exchange policy. That's 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. How about a national lifetime warranty with unlimited time and miles? And that comes with your purchase. Plus, with Arlington's Credit for Everyone program, if your Beacon score is from 450 to 850, almost everyone is approved. With 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 11,000 reviews, it's time to get more in 2021 with Arlington Toyota. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
I'm Glenn Levine, a board-certified civil trial lawyer. That means the Florida bars recognize me as an expert in the field of civil trial. As a trial lawyer, I'm trained to investigate every aspect of your case. If you've been involved in a legal dispute and are not sure of your options, call me, Glenn Levine, at the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation and take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
Small businesses continue to face many challenges resulting from the prolonged pandemic. Business owners are working hard to maintain customers, adjust operations, and retain key personnel. At SCORE, our highly trained counselors are here to offer their assistance. In Jacksonville, SCORE provides services to almost 6,000 individuals annually. In addition to ongoing mentoring, we are conducting webinars on topics that can provide timely advice. Visit jacksonville.score.org today for links with more information.
Spay or neuter your pet. Help them live a longer, happy life. First Coast No More Homeless Pets has free and low-cost programs available now. Make your appointment today. Call 425-0005, 425-0005, or fcnmhp.org.
The hardest part of any goal is oftentimes getting started. All month long, we're going to help you get started on the path for a happier you for free. To hear from our experts and check out upcoming shows from personal health to your home's health, visit GetStartedJax.com.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
I'm Doug Brown. Browns coach Kevin Stefanski says the team had no new positive COVID-19 tests today and is full speed ahead for Sunday's wildcard playoff game in Pittsburgh. Stefanski won't be there after he tested positive along with 2 other coaches and 2 players. ESPN Cleveland's Emmett Golden.
A lot of people here in Cleveland give him more credit than anybody else for getting the Browns to the playoffs. and now you're not going to have them on the sideline.
Emmett Golden on Key J&Z. The Browns training facility is still closed today. A Tennessee Titans trainer has tested positive for COVID-19. The team facility is still open while they conduct contact tracing. Tennessee will host a wild-card game Sunday against the Ravens. Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence makes it official today. He'll enter the NFL draft. The Tigers made the college football playoff in all 3 of Lawrence's seasons, winning the national title in his freshman year. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is now supporting online sports betting in the state. As part of his State of the State address, he will introduce a bill for that.
Any time of the day is Baconator time. Baconate in the AM with the Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Yep, all the bacon you crave with a fresh cracked egg. Try one this AM free with any breakfast purchase offer in the app. There's never been a better reason to bring on the bacon. Always be baconating.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
This is Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
Honestly, just all the way around, they're a good team. The teams that make it to the national championship, you got to be good in every phase, and they are. So that's the first thing I'll say. And then obviously they don't have a ton of games. So you see they're kind of figuring out their identity, and then they've just gotten better and better every week. And you saw when we played them the other night, they played really well. You just got to give it to them. They played really well. And obviously we didn't play our best game, and that's what happens in those big games. You got to come and you got to play well. So they did that. They're really physical, both sides of the ball. D-line, obviously I can speak from what I went against. Their D-line is really good, fast, strong. They do a good job of containing the pocket. And then on the back end, they're good too, and that linebacker. So just all the way around, they're a good team. Like I said, you don't make it that far without being good at pretty much every position.
Well, that is more Trevor Lawrence, and it's kind of interesting to hear Trevor Lawrence talk, leading up to the Heisman Trophy about a variety of different things, even kind of getting his glimpse and analysis, if you will, of what to expect in the national championship game coming up on Monday. That game, by the way, still on for Monday. There were conversations about COVID concerns with Ohio State, but that game is still a Monday game right here on ESPN 690. Coos, I think you can hear that game, the national championship game between Alabama and Ohio State. We'll talk more about that as we get closer and closer to it. Listen, you can't ignore the scene in Washington right now. This is a sports show. We don't talk about that stuff. I'm not an expert on what's going on, and obviously it is a scene that I've never seen before. And Austin, I know we don't have a TV in there, but I know you're also checking out Twitter and the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bottom line is if you haven't caught up with it and you haven't checked in on the news front today and you just been locked in on the sports and Trevor Lawrence and everything else, there are protests going on at the Capitol, but they are beyond protests. I mean, this is not a peaceful protest. This is almost, for lack of a better term, an invasion of the Capitol.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna steer clear of it because, quite honestly, I haven't seen a lot more than that. I keep popping my head out and I see the TV, and I've seen Twitter, but I'm not going to get in the middle of that. I can just say I've never seen anything like it, Austin. I mean, it's kind of gross and sad and disgusting and all that. The rest from a non-political view, just to say that's happening in the United States of America right now.
Yeah, listen, I can get really in-depth into it, but I don't really need to go down that road right now. But I'm just going to say this, being part of the protests that took place here for, Black Lives Matter and, being part of that Jaguars protest and that march, it was a really great scene. And there were some people that didn't agree with that, and you know what? That's fine. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but I'm saying, okay, that's your opinion, and that's your right as an American. But then I feel like those same type of people here would be the ones that would encourage this type of behavior, what's going on in the Capitol right now. So I think what I'm just trying to say is, listen, you can't make something work when it's convenient for you, right? Like if you have a belief system, that's fine, but you have to be on both sides. So don't say that, you're against how the treatment of police, but then all of a sudden now you see this and it's like, well, they had it coming, you can't have it both ways. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah. I think the only thing I could say is that again, does not look like America. And that's, that looks like something I've watched, internationally in pick your country, but not here in the United States. And I've been living here for 43 years. So that's a site I haven't seen. So anyway, if you want more on that front, what's going on in Washington, WOKV 104.5, the place to be on the radio side. And on TV side, Action News Jax just got going with a 4 o'clock newscast on Fox 30. And, of course, they'll have you covered from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. But here, we are going to talk sports, and that's kind of what we do. Anyway, we had Grace Raynor on earlier. She covers Clemson football team. She was excellent talking about Trevor Lawrence. And just to recap, one thing that really stuck out to me, Austin, we talked about the leadership of Trevor Lawrence, him declaring for the NFL draft, obviously the likelihood he ends up in Jacksonville. But she mentioned that Dabo says he basically has like a photographic memory. And even if that's true or not, the idea there is he processes information very well. And, boy, is that so important at the quarterback spot, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome. Because you know who that reminds me of, Brent? LeBron James. And how is that photographic memory working out for him these days? He's a pretty good basketball player. Yeah. And that can definitely even translate to the game of football. So whether that's 100% true or not 100% accurate, even if it's, there's shades of truth there, you got to like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I just, all these things, we're going to – I say this because people are going to try to – rip him down as a prospect. That's what the next few months are about. Be ready for it. And don't take it personal, Jags fans, now that it kind of feels like we've got our arms around Trevor Lawrence here, right? I mean, there's this love fest for Trevor Lawrence that is almost unhealthy at times, it seems, but that's how much excitement there is, I think, in Jacksonville about it. But they are going to rip him down and find some of the warts and the weaknesses. And I don't believe there's such thing, by the way, as a flawless prospect. I mean, this guy, he's got some things to learn just from, again, the analysis that I've heard. His ability to be a drop-back passer is number one. I think Mark Sanchez was talking about it. By the way, Mark Sanchez on the TV doing some being an analyst, I think does a nice job with ESPN. And he brought up that. So, he can get even better. And now you got to find the right guy to mold him that way.
Without a doubt, and that's why the head coach or the offensive coordinator are going to be so important, because you have this maybe once-in-a-generational type of clay, and now you got to mold this into greatness. I mean, he's already great, but obviously there's a new stratosphere that I believe that he can reach. And I think I said this when you might have been doing a little bit of a news break, for the TV side of things on Action Sports Jax, but I think Jaguars fans have to listen, you got to be excited. You have every right to be excited. You have every right to go partying in the streets, just social distance. When the Jaguars hopefully draft Trevor Lawrence, you have every right to do that. But I think in terms of when he comes in here, the expectations, listen, people are saying that he's going to be the savior of the city, and they very well may be right. But I wouldn't be surprised, depending, with preseason, all that stuff. If he comes in right away and all of a sudden it's okay. I mean, it's okay. It's not what we expected. We have to remember that it could take some time, right? He may not just come in here right away and be the next Patrick Mahomes. It might take time to gel, and that's okay. That's how the NFL works. I'm just saying, when you're watching the first game of the season, if he's not thrown for 400, 500 yards, don't panic. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a little bit of everything, right? I mean, are you afraid of Tua right now? Maybe. Kyler Murray was MVP candidate for the first half of the season, not so much in the second half, and some of that's due to injury. I get it. Josh Allen, I was like, trash, said Jalen Ramsey, and now MVP candidate. And you've seen the growth, which I think that's an unusual path, but you've seen this enormous growth from Josh Allen. Deshaun Watson's kind of had it for a long time. So we've seen different Mahomes is probably the only guy that you're like, I saw him the first 2 weeks. You're like, this guy's going to be good, and this guy's been great, and he might be great forever. I mean, he's kind of that only guy that feels a little bit untouchable. Even Burrow, it's like, okay, we saw Burrow for a bit. Looked pretty promising, but that's 8 games worth, 10 games worth, whatever it was. Is that enough? Do we know? Not really. Even Justin Herbert. I mean, he had a little bit of a down swing in the middle of that season when more people watched him play. So there is going to be that. I like what you said there, because you have to temper it in that respect. We haven't talked about the coach yet. And do all those things in terms of catering to the young quarterback and knowing that guy's the centerpiece of the franchise, is it so hard to get to a defensive coach, and is it so important then to get to a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who might be who's interviewing for the job today, or did interview for the job today, according to reports, or an Urban Meyer who's an offensive guy, and then break that barrier away from the defensive coach, whether it's the old guard in Marvin Lewis or the next guy in Robert Saleh. It just feels like every time we're talking about the quarterback and molding that guy and making him as great as he can possibly be, it gets so hard to say, okay, I want a defensive coach.
It definitely does. I mean, obviously, you still have your quarterback coach, you still have your offensive coordinator, but, you know, the way that the NFL now is going, I mean, we see some of the top quarterbacks, you know, they have offensive head coaches. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur now. You know, that's just the way that it is. And I would argue, like, with Tom Brady's resurgence a little bit here the past couple weeks, well, Bruce Arians, very offensive-minded guy. You know, I think it was Jason Fitz yesterday that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially he said, like, if I'm the Jaguars and I'm trying to hire a new head coach, I'm asking Trevor Lawrence what he wants, right? Or I think he was to the point, like, well, I'm bringing guys from Clemson and
yes, he's been a big believer in that.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't Jason Fitz, but I've heard somebody, and I forgot who it was, and it might have been the national sports media, but they're saying you got to consult Trevor Lawrence of what he's looking for in a head coach. And while on the outside that might make sense, right, because he's going to be obviously the most intricate part of this team going forward for a long time, hopefully. At the same time, though, I feel like you do yourself a disservice if you put too much stake into Trevor Lawrence. Now, what does that mean, right? Like, he's the quarterback, but of course you spend your time on him. But what I'm trying to say is, like, listen, if I'm Shad Khan right now, or if I'm somebody in Shad Khan's building and I'm trying to find the next head coach, and I go to Trevor Lawrence and say, Trevor, who do you want? You know what I'm saying? I almost treat him like LeBron James, if you will. And, you know, Trevor has his list or whatever, what he looks for. That's great and everything, but sometimes it's not the best matchup on paper that's going to make you the best football player. Sometimes it's the guy that you don't expect that's going to push you, that's going to hold you maybe a little more accountable as opposed to being your best friend, right? Like, as football players, sometimes we get complacent because the coach is a good friend, right? Like, sometimes, like for instance, Joe Cohen, we are not friends, all right? Joe Cohen chewed me out every single day, all right? And he had choice words. And at the time, I'll be honest, I was miserable. But then looking back now on my career and the position coaches that I've had, I would rather have a guy like Joe Cohen who was genuine, who would chew me out every single day because he saw potential in me, right? Like, he always tried to raise the standard, as opposed to a guy who didn't really say anything to me. He was a pretty good friend, but didn't say jack to me, and then I didn't get better as a player. So my point here is, like, we have to cater to Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy going forward, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, and probably for the best if you make Trevor Lawrence uncomfortable every once in a while as well.
Yeah, and by the way, I think a competitor welcomes that too. I think Trevor Lawrence welcomes that, no doubt about it. And the fit is important. But I just can't grasp, like, okay, going to go with defensive guy when you got this franchise quarterback that might be like, generational talent. It just seems like you almost have to go offense. Are you compelled to go offense? And I listen, we haven't talked about Urban Meyer. It's been a quiet day on the Urban Meyer front. Haven't seen a lot of reports on Urban Meyer. I'm not going to lie to you. I got some information yesterday on Urban Meyer that I'm not even willing to share because I then double-checked it, and I couldn't even get anything. So, like, that's where we're at with the Urban Meyer stuff. Did
Urban Meyer call you? Because he's watching the show.
Yeah,
so
he didn't call
you?
He didn't call me.
Okay.
But I think we're hearing all these things, and it's just like, how do you compute all of it, and you check on it, and nothing. And it's a very quiet day on the Urban Meyer front. Now, I think it was Jason Lockenfor who said it's really heating up as of last night, and early next week they're going to interview him. Like, even that is like, well, early next week they're going to interview him. Why are they waiting so long? This guy's available, isn't he? I mean,
well, and also it's Jason Lockenfor, so you know.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
it's just
But
I will say this about Urban Meyer, because he's such a hot name in this, and then we'll get to the Bieniemy, and then Raheem Morris is scheduled for tomorrow, reportedly, and then Robert Saleh, which proves to me that they are not making a move, because I think Saleh is a serious candidate for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, I believe they all are probably, but I believe Saleh is really a serious candidate. And so if that's the case, then they're not making a decision on the coach until probably early next week at the earliest, in my estimation. And that, of course, even if they want Urban Meyer, then does he want in? And that's the big question. But I would say this. If you go back and look, you talk about trying to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, this guy that's so good already, and how do you make him great and maximize those talents and what you have to work with. You talk about that clay, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is a guy that's already molded pretty darn good, and you just have to take it to the next level. Well, doesn't Urban Meyer do that very well? I mean, you look at what he did with Alex Smith. You look at what he did with Tim Tebow and what he was able to get out of Tim Tebow. I think you could even make the case for Chris Leak and what he was able to do with Chris Leak. And then you start looking at all those quarterbacks, right, at Ohio State. I still think it's one of the most amazing things a coach has ever done in the history of the game, one with a national championship with his third-string quarterback, essentially. So if you talk about maximizing a player, especially at the quarterback position, hard-pressed to find a better guy to do it than Urban Meyer. Understandably, it was in college.
And that's the big point, right? Like, yes, he has maximized the quarterback position in college. And we've seen a lot of guys that have had the most talent out of college come to the pro league and vanish and disappear. So I get what you're trying to say, but I'm the guy that's going to say, hey, let's pump our brakes just a little bit, right? Because the pro game and the college game are two completely different animals. So the big question comes, can that translation from Urban Meyer having success in college with his quarterback, can he find a way to do the exact same thing and replicate that in the NFL?
Yeah, and here I'll go one step further here, and I'm not going to be able to share a ton of evidence, but I want you to think about it. Not just you, but people listening. And give some examples if you have some. You're always welcome to jump in, 904-362-9901. The number's right there on the screen on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Or you can also check us out on the social media channels as well and just reply back and share your thoughts. But as I think about some of those Florida players, and I think about the Ohio State players that he coached that made it to the NFL, there have been some players that did nice things in the NFL. But I almost feel like they were so good in college, did they live up to the hype in the NFL?
Okay.
So did he get the best football out of them when he was coaching them, is my point.
Yeah.
Like I'll bring up like the Pouncey brothers have been very good NFL players, right?
Absolutely.
Fair enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very good. And let's see. Who else could we bring up? I'm going to stay away from Aaron Hernandez in this one, okay?
Yeah.
But like Alex Smith.
Spikes.
Alex Smith played great football at times in his career in the NFL. Brandon Spikes, that's a good one, but he was a way better college player overall than he was a professional player.
I mean, but he had some pretty good runs with Buffalo and New England, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he did. He did. He was a good player.
Yeah, but one could say he was kind of the leader of that defense back in college. So I get what you're saying.
And Percy Harvin, see, this is an interesting one. Percy Harvin was unbelievable the year they beat Oklahoma in the national championship. Like, he was definitely unbelievable that year and other years, but that year was tremendous. Mm-hmm. And he had moments in the NFL, and I think it was like these external circumstances from migraines to other things that kind of derailed, if you will, some of his NFL prowess and career long term. So listen, I'm not trying to suggest that if you don't get coached by Urban Meyer, you can't be a good player. I'm just trying to exacerbate the idea of this guy gets some darn good play out of the people he coaches. And I think it was proven at the college level.
No, for sure. I mean, and I'm going to give that to you, that's a great point. But at the same time, I can pick a bunch of coaches that can fall in that category as well, right? Where they may have maximized their potential in college, and when they get to the pros, their players they're okay, but they're not like they're maximized in, at the college game. So I get what you're saying. It's a completely different ball game, though.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's a big question, right? I mean, that's a big question. If Urban Meyer is a Jacksonville guy for the head coaches, can he do it at the NFL level? I understand that. I do think he's a fantastic coach. All right, just a fantastic coach. You can take the motivation, the other stuff, the health, the everything else. I think this guy is a fantastic coach. And by the way, he's a very good recruiter, too, at the college level. You don't need to do that as much, I get it, at the NFL level. Mm-hmm. But my point being, this guy can really coach. And I think some people are noticed this guy can really recruit. Like, John Calipari, I think he's a good coach, to be honest with you. But don't most people say he's a great recruiter? Like, that's his thing? They don't really give him credit for being a great coach. They give him credit for being a great recruiter. See, I don't think I do that with Urban Meyer. Meyer is a great recruiter, but I think he's a damn good coach.
So, I mean, you would say, like, he kind of, I don't know if it's really a fair comparison, but if you want to get into college basketball, like Brad Stevens. Like, Brad Stevens was an okay recruiter because, let's be honest, I mean, a couple of his guys went to the NBA, but he obviously got the most out of that team because it seems like for that run there, they're at least in the Sweet 16, the Final Four a couple times every single year with Butler.
I would say definitely. And look at him as he goes to the Celtics. It's proven that he is a very good coach.
Correct.
Billy Donovan, I don't know how people want to characterize his NBA career right now, but I think he's done a nice job, and he's had some staying power. I think because he's a really good coach. Like, he wasn't getting he got some really good players at Florida, but it wasn't like year after year, McDonald's All-American, top recruiting classes, all that stuff at Florida. He developed those guys. He coached those guys, and I think that's why people thought it would translate to the NFL. I think Urban is a little bit of both. He's a great recruiter, and I really do believe he's a very good coach. How in the world does Eric Bieniemy interview with everybody else, Austin, but not the Houston Texans, where everybody had him pegged to go? Does this mean the Houston Texans are not interested, or are they holding out?
Listen, I have no idea what's transpiring with that. I'm not sure if they're like trying to get a GM first, and the GM's going to call, like, I guess who's.
Well,
meeting.
They did. I mean, Casario's going to be the guy there.
But okay, so they got that figured out. Then listen, I have no idea, Brent. I'll be honest with you, man. Especially like in a situation like Deshaun Watson, where he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now. You think it would be a match made in heaven with Bieniemy. I'm not really sure what they're doing. I'm not sure if they have an ace in the hole where they have a plan already. But Houston, it's just not a good look right now.
Yeah, and so if people are adding up the tea leaves in Houston, right? You got the Easterby connection with the Patriots in that tree. Now you get Nick Caserio, who was with Belichick, and they tried to get over the last couple years, didn't get him. Now they've got him as the GM. And then who's next? Brian Daboll, who would be connected. So what's interesting, Austin, is Brian Daboll hasn't been rumored to be interviewed or requested interviewed by the Jaguars, I don't think. I haven't seen that out there.
Yeah.
And that's a hot name. So the Jags have kind of stayed away from him. I'm presuming that because I haven't seen it reported. That's the only way I would know. But Eric Bieniemy reportedly did interview with the Jaguars today. And remember yesterday when I said they previously had last year Bieniemy didn't interview with all the teams interested. He just picked like the first 4.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the case this time. He's interviewed now with 5 different teams. So he didn't limit them.
Covered all the bases.
He just wasn't asked to interview with the Texans.
Yeah.
So Jags get the interview process going on the head coaches. Eric Bieniemy today, reportedly Raheem Morris from Atlanta tomorrow, and Saturday Robert Saleh. And where does Urban Meyer fit in all of that and maybe others? We will continue to see. And we'll talk more about it. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Action Sports Shacks on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Becoming partly sunny today, we'll reach the low to mid-60s, dropping into the low 40s tonight. Join me beginning at 5 p.m. for CBS 47 at Fox 30 Action News Jacks from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm TV meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, where you get the lowest diamond price guaranteed or your money back.
Hi, it's Phil with the Phil Aiken Home Team at Keller Williams. When it comes time to sell your home, put me and the Aiken Home Team to work for you. Here's why. Over the years, I've perfected the home selling system, putting the most money possible in your pocket. With my exclusive list of buyers in waiting, I may already have your buyer. And with thousands of buyers, I'm likely to create more demand and higher sales prices. I'll even guarantee to sell your home at a price agreeable to you, or I'll buy it myself. Don't just take it from me. Let me introduce actual clients, Lynn and Craig. Tell us about your home selling experience.
We were immediately at ease. We had a great deal of confidence that any questions we had or anything that we needed to learn about the process was going to be handled in an expert and professional way.
We sold our home in just 2 days for $3,500, more than list price. Anyone who wants to sell needs to call Phil Aiken Home Team.
Thanks for sharing. The number to call is 904-500-PHIL. That's 904-500-7445. Or visit philhasthebuyers.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dealing with battery problems? We can help you out and get you ready for the colder weather ahead.
Let's start with a free battery test. If you just need a free charge, we can help with that too. And if it's time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2019.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
In the know, I'm Smitha Rao. As the coronavirus pandemic continues throughout the fall and winter, overlapping with flu season, Dr. Eduardo Sanchez, American Heart Association Chief Medical Officer for Prevention, says that getting a flu vaccine is more important than ever.
The flu is serious and can even cause death. If you get the flu right now, you may need to be hospitalized in an already overwhelmed healthcare system. Get your flu shot and stay out of the hospital due to the flu.
It is important for everyone to get a flu vaccine, but especially important for seniors, children, pregnant women, and people with underlying risk factors such as heart disease, stroke, and diabetes.
The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and you can get it at places that are taking extra safety measures like your doctor's office, pharmacy, or even community pop-up centers. As with COVID-19, wearing a mask, washing your hands often, and social distancing helps to prevent the spread of the flu.
For more, go to heart.org/flu prevention.
Appliances may work on your schedule, but they quit on theirs. At Atlantic Coast Appliance, we'll get your appliances back up and running in no time at all. Our factory-trained and certified technicians have repaired more than 100,000 appliances over the past 35 years, servicing Jacksonville to St. Augustine and Ponte Vedra with a 90-day warranty on parts and labor, plus a 100% satisfaction guarantee. When your appliances quit, we're ready to get started. For quality repair at a price that's fair, visit AtlanticCoastAppliance.com.
For the ones standing guard, for the eagle-eyed, for the knights in shining armor, and for all those who support them. We are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love golf or know somebody who does, you need to get this deal. 8 rounds of golf for less than $12 per round, plus cart fees with a Dream 18 golf card at great area golf courses like St. John's Golf and Country Club, Amelia River Golf Club, and Eagle Landing Golf Club. And this isn't just a golf card. Get a free shirt from Baker Sports, a free hat at Dome Hats, and a free smoothie from Smoothie King, plus 15% off any purchase at Palm Beach Autographs. Go to ESPN690.com to purchase the Dream 18 card for $95. Hundreds of dollars in savings and the perfect gift.
No matter what you are driving, you can step up to luxury now at any of the Fields Auto Group dealerships in Jacksonville. Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Yes, it's luxury for less at all Fields Auto Group locations in Jacksonville. Plus, you'll also be part of their exclusive Fields Amenities program, where you will get complimentary loaners, car washes, and cafes. So whatever you're driving, see Fields first and step up to luxury for less during this amazing opportunity. Visit fieldsauto.com.
An essential part of starting and running a business is managing cash flow. This involves not just generating sales revenue, but also securing financing, handling expenses, and ensuring there is working capital in order to reinvest. At SCORE, we offer advice and can direct you to resources to help address these issues. Since 1964, SCORE has helped more than 11 million entrepreneurs and small business owners. We provide free one-on-one mentoring, a library of online information, and a series of timely webinars. Go to jacksonville.score.org to see how we can assist you today.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you're usually listening to ESPN 690 in your car, we appreciate it. But your boss has you working from home this week, so take us with you. Your smart speaker brings ESPN 690 into your home office. Tell your Amazon Echo or Google Home to play ESPN 690.
Brent Martineau.
Well, listen, if we wanted to just bump WWE by like a half hour or a few minutes, we should have just rolled your highlight tape.
Austin Lane.
Oh, and there it is. And now Brent's playing ball. All of a sudden, Chapman throwing some high heat at me. Watch out for that suspension, Brent. Real quick, though.
Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690.
To all the young kids out there that's not the biggest, not the strongest, just keep pushing. Because I'm not the biggest. I've been doubted a lot just because of my size. And really, it just comes down to you put your mind to it, you can do it. No job is too big. If you put your mind to it, you can do it, and just keep believing in God, and you'll get where you want to be.
That, of course, is Devontae Smith, Alabama wide receiver. Wins the Heisman Trophy last night. By the way, quick shout-out just from a TV geek right here. I thought ESPN did a nice job. That's tough. That's tough. That ceremony means a lot when everybody's around.
Yeah.
You know, and all the past winners and just the kind of the feeling inside the building. I think it really means a lot, and they didn't have that. And so I thought they did a really nice job. It's a tough task for whoever put that together. A little TV geek in me there. But I thought, by the way, the other thing that was interesting is I've never really heard Devontae Smith talk that much. We don't sit there and listen to news conferences from Alabama. He was tremendous, just what a mild, quiet, but, well-spoken, perfect message, not too long. Really didn't even get too emotional, I think, during that time. And maybe some of that was because his parents weren't there and everybody wasn't there to kind of give him a hug.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a great job. It was really an interesting deal. This is not a knock on anybody else in the past, okay, because I just viewed this one a little bit differently, maybe because of the way they presented it. But you were talking about 4 young men there that, they looked like some really good young men. You talk about role models, like in the Heisman finalists, whether you like football or not, but if you have kids, the stories of those 4 guys, all different, all fantastic. And they just seem like they're built well, man. They seem like 4 really good young men.
Yeah.
That was my takeaway. I know they're good football players, but there are a lot of good football players. And by the way, there are a lot of – sometimes that doesn't come across and you can still be a great guy. But I just took that away. Heck, even look at Devontae Smith. He's like, yeah, I went to sleep right after. I went home and went to sleep. It's all about – that's all they're trained to do at Alabama, right? It's
play
like, hey, we got Monday night. Monday night.
Play. Yeah.
So, good. Listen, Kyle Trask, if he had won it, I think he would have earned it. Mac Jones, I believe, and I know some people don't, if he had won it, he would have earned it. Trevor Lawrence, I actually believe in 2020, I'm not sure he would have earned it as much, but if you look back on actually his numbers and his play, it would be tough to argue. His numbers and play were better than maybe I was even led to think about all year because he missed 2 games because of COVID, and Trask and Mac Jones are putting up these crazy numbers. Alabama's beating people by 30. Trask's throwing for 40 touchdowns. And so it's like, well, Trevor Lawrence isn't doing that. We're not hearing about Trevor Lawrence throw for 5 touchdowns in a game and 500 yards. Well, then he played unbelievable in the ACC Championship. And do I think some of the votes were a little bit of a career award? Absolutely, I do. But even him, he would have been deserving in almost any year to have won the Heisman Trophy. But Devontae Smith was the most deserving. He had earned it. He was the best player in college football this year for my money.
Without a doubt. And, if anything that happened last night, it got to show you a little bit of who he was, right? Because let's be honest, this guy came out of nowhere like a lot of Heisman Trophy winners have seemed to do recently, but he wasn't the quarterback position. So, yes, he got the attention, but we're still talking about Mac Jones. We're talking about Kyle Trask. We're talking about Trevor Lawrence, and Devontae Smith didn't really get a shine that much, so it was cool to see him showcased as the best college football player in the country. Did you see the thing that his teacher put out, or his professor put out at Alabama? What happened?
I didn't.
So supposedly what had happened, I'm not sure if this was this year or last year, but Devontae Smith, and I'm not even sure the class, but he was in a class, and after the class, he spoke with the professor a little bit, and they just had just a genuine conversation. Well, his professor said that it was always her dream to go watch a game on the field, A couple weeks later, Devontae Smith actually made that happen, and he wrote her a handwritten letter saying, "Thank you for everything that you've done for me. You make, coming to your class very fun and exciting. You're a great teacher. I hope you enjoyed the sideline experience. And he never obviously said anything about that, but she shared that story. She put it on Twitter and shared the picture of the note that he wrote her. And I thought it was just, it speaks volumes what type of guy that is, right? Because, let's be honest. If you're a football player at Alabama, your studies, some guys might take it seriously, but you're there to play football, right? And it's really cool for the fact that he actually, took the opportunity with his scholarship to further on his education and thank his teachers that stood out to him. So that's pretty cool. That's
very cool stuff. Again, I think this guy was tremendous. Glenn from Florida just asked us on Twitter, Periscope, and said, would he have won the award if Waddle was there all year? And it's a great question. I think the answer to that would be no, Austin, because they probably would have split a lot of the numbers.
Oh, without a doubt,
right?
Hands down. Yep, correct.
And so, Waddle's tremendously talented, and a lot of people believe going into the year more talented than Smith. So I think they would have shared the numbers at the very least. But to me, that's why he should have won the national title. Not because he got so many more numbers, but because the attention of defenses didn't have to deal with Waddle and Smith. And so the attention went to Smith, and every time you looked up, number 6 was catching a pass over the middle, deep behind the defense. A little bubble screen and taking it 15 yards, whatever it might be. And sure, Alabama's got some other weapons, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But number 6 was the best weapon. And even once they lost the guy on the other side that could split the attention for defenses, and all the attention went to him, or a lot of it, he still delivered. To me, that was the most impressive part of his 2020 season.
Without a doubt. How it's going to translate at the next level, let's be honest. Whoever takes Devontae Smith, is going to be getting a dynamic playmaker. And we've seen wide receivers recently come in the NFL right away and have instant success. And there is no reason to believe, especially like his kind of style, right? He's not to me, I look at Devontae Smith, like he's not a 6'6" Kelvin Johnson type, right? Like he's not the go up and go get it type, but he's a guy kind of like Tyreek Hill, where if you get this dude in space and you give him a couple yards, he could take it to the house any single time. So I'm excited to watch him at the next level.
And he's a slight guy, He came in 160 pounds. He's 175. But I think guys like a Hunter Renfrow or you remember when we saw him at the Senior Bowl? He's held up. He did get hit that one time during the year. That's a nasty collision. But
yeah.
But from a body standpoint, that was more of a hit to the head. From a body standpoint, he's held up. So, I don't know if 10 years ago a guy that's 175 pounds and as slight as Devontae Smith is going to really make it in the NFL, but now I think you can.
Oh, there's definitely a need for those. I remember Andy Isabella a couple years ago at the Senior Bowl we were talking to, and he's having an okay career so far. He's had some injuries, but that's the thing about it, Brent, right? Like, listen, when you watch Kelvin Johnson play in college, one would probably think, okay, this guy's going to be special. And you saw him at the Combine, enough said. You saw Julio Jones play, you knew he was going to be special. A.J. Green, the same thing, and obviously Randy Moss, even from a small school at Marshall. Like, you kind of figured with his stats and everything, he was going to be special. You have a guy like Devontae Smith, let's be honest. There's a lot of guys who weigh 170 pounds that can run, right, that are agile. It's just crazy to me, like, what it takes to go into the scouting process to look at a guy and be like, okay, this is the guy that we need in the slot, or this is the guy that we need running the underneath routes, because he has it. Like, to me, it's hard to distinguish between one fast, twitchy guy who's kind of undersized and another fast, twitchy guy who's undersized.
The Clint just said on our one of the message boards here for Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690, he said Shaun Wade against Devontae Smith in the national championship game. Shaun Wade has not played great football this year overall. He was a top 10 projection pick earlier in the year, before the season started. And I got to believe he's sliding down mock draft boards. But this would be one heck of a moment, Austin, to pull out your best game. Because if you can slow down, not necessarily shut down the Heisman Trophy winner, Shaun Wade's stock is going to go way up.
Without a doubt. It's going to be a huge game for him.
So we'll see what happens with that matchup in the national championship game. Hey, I've got a question for you when you come back. The Jags have a ton of money. And while there's a long way away from building this roster and free agency and obviously all the draft, we're into the offseason. So just more of a general question right now of, would you spend it immediately? Or do you wait until you think you might be better in 22? How much of the dollars do you spend? Where's your mindset if you're Shad Khan and then this regime coming in who's interviewing for jobs, GM and head coach, and says, hey, I think we should spend $60 million of this right now. We'll save a little bit for later too, but let's go get better right away. Let's go get 3 or 4 guys, get better right away. What would be your approach? Let's talk about it next. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. Last night, the most prestigious award in college football was awarded to Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith. Here he is on what it's like to win.
It's just unbelievable. Just coming from a small place like that, you just really have to work it day in and day out and just believe in yourself. And if don't nobody else believe you, you just have to believe in yourself and just prove everybody wrong.
He is the first receiver to win a Heisman since Desmond Howard in 1991. Presumed number 1 pick and probably future Jag Trevor Lawrence finished second in the Heisman voting. Speaking of the Jags, they have requested to interview with Saints VP, Assistant GM of Pro Personnel, Terry Fontenot, to fill the vacant GM job. The SportsCenter update is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Hey, know when the best time to buy Christmas lights or artificial Christmas trees is? December 26th. Off-season rates are for real. It's the same for air conditioners. Believe it or not, January isn't a hotbed month for air conditioner sales. 'Cause no one's AC is breaking down in this weather. So why am I telling you all this? 'Cause I've already done all the extensive technical and customer service training for my AC techs. I hire the best and train them even better. That's why they can fix what others can't. And part of my promise to them is a steady 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. And right now, they ain't busy. I'm paying them like I promised, but I'd sure rather be sending them out on install jobs. So if your system's older or you'd like to upgrade it, now's the time. By mid to late February, we'll be busy again, scheduling and running spring tune-ups for all our loyal Club Griffin members. But now's the time for a deal. So ring us at
griffinservice.com.
License number 1250697. We should always be looking at our finances, but 2020 made my family take an even closer look, a bit more of a deeper dive, and it might have done the same for you, even into the world of retirement. Although that's a bit down the road for me, it might be closer for you, and your plan should already be under a microscope, and you have to lean on the experts to help guide the right plan. My friend Mike Lester with Talon Wealth Management is the perfect partner. He will provide a complimentary analysis and a plan for you. Call him at 904-515-5000 or visit guardingyournestegg.com. That's 904-515-5000 or guardingyournestegg.com. Mike will give you the guidance you need as retirement gets closer. He can help you convert company plans to private plans, a move that might give you higher returns and more options. You've earned the money. Now make sure you are ready for whenever retirement will be. Call Mike Lester at Talon Wealth Management, 904-515-5000. That's 904-515-5000. Or visit guardingyournestegg.com.
If you have a specific medical problem, you call a specialist. Broken leg? Call an orthopedist. Cataracts? Call an ophthalmologist. At Prime Men's Medical Center, our doctors specialize in ED and PE. Listen to Dr. Rubinski, a renowned expert in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinski. If you're experiencing ED or PE, Prime Men's Medical Center has custom blended medications to help you last longer in the bedroom, regardless of age or past medical history, with no pain or surgery. In fact, you'll see results in the office guaranteed or your exam is free. Patients are now lasting for 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer. And best of all, treatments are affordable.
Men. If Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra have let you down, call Prime Men's Medical Center for a private consultation with our highly skilled physicians. Call 904-206-8105. 904-206-8105. 904-206-8105.
Get more in 2021 when you shop Arlington Toyota, like Arlington's 30-day exchange policy. That's 30 days to love your purchase or exchange it. How about a national lifetime warranty with unlimited time and miles? And that comes with your purchase. Plus, with Arlington's Credit for Everyone program, if your Beacon score is from 450 to 850, almost everyone is approved. With 4.7 out of 5 stars and over 11,000 reviews, it's time to get more in 2021 with Arlington Toyota. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
After a car accident, you can feel like you've lost control. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar & Levine. Our team can help you understand your legal options after an accident. We will file your claim and fight for the full compensation you deserve. If you've been involved in a car accident, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation. And take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español?
Hablo.
It's hablo?
Yes.
It's hablo.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in Babbel to our real-life situations.
The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at babbel.com. That's babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
The Max Kellerman Show.
Doug Peterson, if you are losing by 11, like I love aggression in coaches, but there is such a thing as situational football.
The Max Kellerman Show, weekdays at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And now, watch exclusively on ESPN Plus.
And welcome back on a Wednesday. Trevor Lawrence declares for the NFL draft. The Jaguars looking for a new head coach, a new general manager. They've got a bevy of draft picks. They've got a bunch of money to spend in free agency. And in a moment, we're going to talk about that. Just from a general standpoint, how much money would you spend if you're in charge of the Jags roster coming up in free agency? Not who you're going to get, but would you spend it all? Would you spend a little? Would you save it for down the road? We'll get into that in just a couple of moments here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. But speaking of money, how about the Money Minute right now with our friend Mike Lester with Talon Wealth Management. Happy New Year, Mike.
Hey, Happy New Year. How's everything going?
We're doing great. Hey, we got Trevor Lawrence fever around here, so we're doing fantastic. Jaguars have that number one pick, and Trevor Lawrence might be the guy at the quarterback spot. So maybe there's some wins down the road for the Jacksonville Jaguars. How about winning in the first quarter in maybe for somebody heading to retirement? How are you looking at 2021 as we start? Obviously, we're seeing some wild scenes out of Washington today, and there's going to be a transition of power later this month. But I think the Dow Jones is finishing up in record fashion again today on a Wednesday.
It is. So I'll tell you, I started off my morning yesterday very early, sent out everybody's doing Zoom these days. But shout out a quick video to everybody just to say, hey, listen, this Georgia election's going on. I know there's a lot of people talking, but listen, just don't worry too much about it. Markets are going to look ahead to economies, not politics. And, whether you're a fan or you're not a fan of what's going on out there right now, what I'm super focused on is what are markets likely to do here in the first quarter. What are markets likely to do in the second quarter? If it becomes a problem, we'll let clients know. But, it looks like, Georgia didn't go the Republicans' way, but mark up 437 today. And so it obviously, not that it helped, but it certainly didn't hurt. And things are looking pretty good. And the reason they're looking good is people are going to be getting stimulus checks, and they're going to go out and they're going to spend that money. And they're going to be out spending money because eventually these vaccines will be around. So we're going to keep a close look at that. But all I could say is, take a close look at your portfolio and make sure you're positioned for it.
Mike, we appreciate the time on the Money Minute. Always helpful advice. Mike Lester from Talon Wealth Management, 904-515-5000. Visit guardingyournestegg.com for expert advice from Mike Lester. Have a great night.
You too.
That's Mike Lester from Talon Wealth Management, and a good time to take a look at your portfolio. By the way, you can listen to Guarding Your Nest Egg on Saturdays and Sunday mornings right here on ESPN 690 with Mike Lester. Everybody keeping an eye on that Dow Jones, the market, where it's headed. And, of course, if you're closer and closer to retirement, make sure to give Mike Lester a call at Talon Wealth Management, 904-515-5000, or visit guardingyournestegg.com. I want to stay talking money right now, Austin Lane, because the Jags have a ton of it in free agency.
Yes.
Where would your mindset be? And, again, I've already done this a little bit, and I don't want to we can do this as we go along. Like, who would you get? And I've said Leonard Williams would be a great find. Justin Simmons, I think I might invest in him. Maybe it's even one more player in 2021. But I don't want to go specifics in that sense. I'm more looking at if they have between $80 and $100 million to spend. which is what reportedly they'll have. How much of that should they spend in 2021? Should they stock some of that away for 2022 when they might be closer to winning bigger?
It's a great question. Okay. If we're looking at rebuilding this whole thing right now, we got to look at where are the biggest holes, right? This is a ship right now. There's some holes. You're taking on water. What do you cover up first to try to save as many people as possible? To me, the glaring hole right now is the 3 technique. Now, obviously, with the first pick of the draft, you're going Trevor Lawrence hands down or Justin Fields. But it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to put Justin Fields. You know what? I'm making a stand right now. I understand that the draft is a long ways away. I understand a lot of things can happen, Brent, but I'm not going to put Justin Fields even in the universe. I'm not going to speak it in the universe. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. So you get Trevor Lawrence at number 1. There you go. You can maybe get a 3 technique, later towards the first round, but you got to ask yourself the question. If you draft that guy at that position, would he come right away and make a difference? And the answer is maybe, but maybe not. I want the sure thing. Leonard Williams, to me, is the sure thing. And that's a glaring hole right now, regardless of what the defense is going to look like going forward. So I'm going Leonard Williams for sure, no questions asked, or some other 3 technique, and that's a no-brainer. Position you can talk about a little bit is the tight end position, because once again, history shows us that when you draft a tight end, doesn't matter if it's a top 10, the first round, second round, third round, usually it takes a little time for them to develop. Well, when you have a rookie quarterback, one of the things you can do to help them to build their confidence is have a fail-safe. And one of those fail-safes can be the tight end, right? It's the tight end and it's the pass-catching running back. Those 2 things can bail a quarterback out of a lot of trouble. Right now on the roster, you see the tight ends, nothing to really shake a stick at. I see guys like Hunter Henry possibly available unless they franchise tag him for like the 20th year in a row. He's kind of like the Great White Buffalo, if you will. I see guys like, maybe like a Vance McDonald, but I'm not sold on him. But obviously Jonnu Smith could be that guy as well, because right now in Tennessee, like Jonnu Smith, in my opinion, is a decent tight end, right? And he's still got some years ahead of him, but they have so many weapons in Tennessee, and they have Fisker as well. I'm not sure if they need Jonnu Smith anymore. I'm not sure if they re-sign him, so that's a guy to keep an eye on. Sure, you can still draft the Kyle Pitts possibly, or a tight end in the draft, but you got to get the sure thing. And I think Jonnu Smith is probably the closest thing to a sure thing that you're going to have this year in free agency. The other position that we talk about, Brent, if you want to get sexy with it, you go with the wide receiver, right? And Chris Godwin right now, I believe is going to be a free agent. We'll see if they tag him. We'll see what the plan is. But Chris Godwin's a guy to me out of the slot, right? The slot's a very a high commodity position right now. In my opinion, Chris Godwin, one of the best slot guys out there. You put him out there with DJ Chark and maybe like a Colin Johnson and a Chenault, you might have some crazy stuff going on there. So I like guys like Chris Godwin or another free agent receiver, maybe a Smith-Schuster, but I like Godwin a little better.
So really, to sum up, you don't mind spending a little cash?
No, you know what? I'm going to spend the cash. You know why? Because Trevor Lawrence is the most important part of my franchise. And I want to give the most important part of my franchise all the weapons that he can handle and all the confidence that he can handle.
Keep in mind, there's a couple moderate deals, maybe a DeJuan Smith and Cole. Cam Robinson could be a big chunk of money or a good chunk of money. Andrew Norwell, you could create some space, although I think they'd be foolish to do so. I think he's coming off a really nice year and played at a good level, so I wouldn't do that. I would spend some, too, because I think I can get that defense better. I look at it like this, Austin. Malik Jackson, Tayshaun Gibson. I think I can find something similar to those guys that help me get better at every level that might not make me great in 21. But they'll be a part of it for 21, 22, 23, and maybe even 24. And that's Leonard Williams and a Justin Simmons. And then I have a stud guy at least. And then if you add them up with Josh Allen and Caleb Chason with Leonard Williams, in the middle I've got Miles Jack. You already spent some money on Schobert, debatable how good he is. And then you've got a young player in C.J. Henderson and a proven player in Justin Simmons in the back end. So I think I make 2 moves in free agency, and I feel so much better about my defensive parts.
Listen, all I'm going to say is if I'm Shad Khan right now, and then that very first day that the head coach comes in, whether it's Urban Meyer, whether it's somebody else, when they come in and it's their first day in the office and I'm Shad Khan, I'm walking in with just wads and wads of hundreds. and all I'm going to say is, and I'm going to have like a background montage music play in the background. I'm like, hey, what should we spend today, right? It's going to be a shopping spree. Whatever you want, you got it. That's the type of attitude that I would have if I'm Shad Khan right now.
Does Shad Khan even have dollar bills like it is in his wallet? Aren't they all at least hundreds, most likily?
I mean, I hope so. I don't know. Maybe he's a Bitcoin guy that doesn't really sell in terms of a movie. Like, you're going to flash around Bitcoins, like cryptocurrency you're going to be throwing around doesn't really have the same appeal as $100 bills.
Hey, I know we have Lance hanging on the line. Lance, either hang on the line or Kuz will get your question. But we got to take a commercial break before the top of the hour, and we'll answer the question. Or even if you want to hang on the line till for a few minutes, we'll
Got to
get you
keep
at
those
5
lights
o'clock.
on, Lance.
That's
we apologize.
Right. Maurice Jones-Drew will join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Should be coming up in just a few moments as well. He's not all lovey-dovey all over Trevor Lawrence yet. Austin, we got a job to do.
Oh, yeah.
We got to convince Mojo.
Good cop, bad cop. Let's go.
It's coming up. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
Happy holidays from the team at CGC Water. This holiday season, our gift to you is clean drinking water. A Kinetico system from CGC Water removes up to 99% of contaminants. That's clean. Right now, CGC Water is offering a free A200 reverse osmosis drinking water system with the purchase of a Kinetico Premier Softener like the one we have at our home. If you're still not filtering your water, you are the filter. Schedule your free water test today and get peace of mind knowing your family's water is safe water. CGC is still taking extra precautions with in-home visits and continuing to follow CDC guidelines. Remember now, this is a limited time offer. A free A200 reverse osmosis drinking water system with the purchase of a Kinetico Premier Softener. Special holiday financing available for a limited time with approved credit. Call 904-552-1242 for details or visit cgcwater.com. Serving Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia, CGC Water Treatment, your local independent Kinetico dealer. Have a happy and safe holiday season.
Nothing is certain except death and taxes. And your appliance is breaking down as soon as they're out of warranty. At Atlantic Coast Appliance, we can't help with the first two, but we've got the third one covered. Our factory-trained and certified technicians have been repairing appliances for more than 35 years, with a 90-day warranty on parts and labor and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For quality repair at a price that's fair, trust Atlantic Coast Appliance. AtlanticCoastAppliance.com. That's AtlanticCoastAppliance.com.
After a car accident, you can feel like you've lost control. I'm Mark Anajar from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. After the crash, call the police and document the scene by taking photos of all the vehicles involved. If you were injured, get medical attention as soon as possible. If you've been involved in a car accident, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation. And take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
It is the home of the Action Sports Jacks Dream 18, and make it your home course as well. The golf club at Southampton in North St. Johns County, located off County Road 210. It's family-owned and operated. Southampton is a fun course to play, and the golf club at Southampton offers club membership programs starting at just $79. With its elite practice facilities and player-friendly golf course design, it'll be your gateway to a great time with the family or with your buddies. For information on the membership programs, call the golf club at Southampton, 904-287-PLAY. Again, it's 904-287-PLAY.
It's, oh my God, the NBA, it almost is sacrosanct.
I mean, people are on the ground ripping open testing kits.
We all have it. There's no way we all don't have it.
You knew that the direction of the entire 2020 year for the whole world just took a massive turn.
30 for 30 Podcast presents March 11th, 2020. Available now, wherever you get your podcasts.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
No matter what you are driving, you can step up to luxury now at any of the Fields Auto Group dealerships in Jacksonville. Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Yes, it's luxury for less at all Fields Auto Group locations in Jacksonville. Plus, you'll also be part of their exclusive Fields Amenities program, where you will get complimentary loaners, car washes, and cafes. So whatever you're driving, see Fields first and step up to luxury for less during this amazing opportunity. Visit fieldsauto.com.
You'll never paint your house again. Call the Coating Man.
The only company with a true never paint your house again warranty, providing the most advanced protective paints and coatings on the market, guaranteed never to fade, chip, crack, or peel as long as you own your home. For a estimate and to save up to 40% off, call 888-COAT-USA. That's 888-COAT-USA, or visit their showroom, 2000 Wells Road.
Call the Coating Man.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NFL playoffs kick off this weekend, and even though the Browns will be without head coach Kevin Stefanski, 2 assistants, and 2 players, Stefanski says the team is still full speed ahead for their matchup with the Steelers Sunday night. ESPN's Ryan Clark says Stefanski's absence will be a big loss for quarterback Baker Mayfield.
Every time it's a Baker Mayfield quote-unquote breakout game or Baker Mayfield proves something to the doubters, it's because we say Kevin Stefanski put him in the right positions to do so.
Ryan Clark on Key J and Z. Offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt will call plays for the Browns on Sunday. The Rams activate wideout Cooper Kupp from the COVID-19 reserve list. He is the team's leading receiver and missed the regular season finale. Dolphins offensive coordinator Chan Gailey resigns today after 1 year on the job. That means head coach Brian Flores will have a new OC for the 3rd year in a row. LPGA Commissioner Mike Wan will step down sometime this year. He took the job in 2010 and is the longest tenured LPGA commissioner.
Any time of the day is Baconator time. Baconate in the AM with the Wendy's Breakfast Baconator. Yup, all the bacon you crave with a fresh cracked egg. Try one this AM free with any breakfast purchase offer in the app. There's never been a better reason to bring on the bacon. Always be baconating.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
This is Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 with Brent Martineau and Austin Lane.
Look, I know everyone wants to say that Trevor Lawrence is a consensus #1, and I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying I don't know if he is. How about you take a look at some other people to see, to make sure, really do your due diligence and dive in and make sure. You can't just go out there and say, this guy is this, because when you're picking #1, you have to make sure that pick is the right pick, because if you miss that pick, it can get bad.
That is Maurice Jones-Drew this morning on ESPN with Zubin, Keyshawn, and Jay. And you can hear it right here on ESPN 690. You're going to hear Maurice Jones-Drew live on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 in just a couple of moments. But before we get to him and a conversation about Trevor Lawrence, who declared for the 2021 NFL Draft today, let's go to the phone lines. Lance been hanging around. Let's talk a little bit about Urban Meyer. What's up, Lance? Happy New Year, man.
Hey, Happy New Year, guys. So my big thing is, when you hear Urban Meyer's excited about Jacksonville, it gets me excited because I'm a huge Jaguar fan for life, Gator fan for life. Urban Meyer, we should call him the king of opportunity because he finds a spot that he knows that he's going to win in, and there's where he goes. I think he's a great coach. I just keep hearing all these NFL players. I even hear kind of a little hesitation in Austin's voice. I just don't know if he's ready for the NFL. Nothing against his coaching. I don't see it. I don't think he's the right guy for this job. I think someone like Eric Bieniemy is the one that we should be putting all our eggs in the basket. I really don't get what's the love for Urban Meyer on this. Great coach, nothing wrong. I mean, if you really want to go outside the basket, to me, if you want to go and hire a college coach, why isn't someone, I know is coming off a bad loss, but someone like Brian Kelly? If you looked at the way he's coached over the years, he's got more of the NFL coach demeanor. He's actually had to change the way he's coached to kind of get to college students. someone like that, to me, fits more in the NFL. I just not seeing the Urban Meyer.
Lance, I appreciate the call, and I really appreciate that sentiment from a guy who's a Gator fan and a Jags fan and kind of an Urban Meyer fan, it sounds like, but doesn't think it will work here in the NFL. And listen, it's fair. It is certainly fair to wonder if it will, but how many times did Lance Austin just say he's a great coach? He's a great coach. And I do believe if you're looking for that figurehead of an organization, somebody that is in command of the organization, which, by the way, and I've written this and we've talked about it, the Jags have not had other than Tom Coughlin, but he wasn't in a coaching role, so therefore it muddied things up even more. If you're looking for that kind of guy, Urban Meyer probably is the best fit for that alone.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, Brent, right? Like, if you look at the coaches here, the better part of a decade here in Jacksonville, there hasn't been a lot of wins, right? So if you're a Jaguars fan right now, you're hesitant maybe a little bit about Urban Meyer. You're hesitant because there is risk, right? I say it all the time. This could be the ultimate boomer bust pick at the head coaching position. But if it's going to be a bust, well, then you set your team back, a couple more years. Like, you don't want to see that if you're a Jaguars fan. Bieniemy, he's a lot more of a safer choice in my opinion because he has the resume. He comes from one of the best coaching trees in the entire NFL. We've compared it to Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. It's not even close to the success of the Andy Reid coaching tree compared to Belichick, right? It's night and day. So with that being said, Bieniemy is definitely, in my opinion, the safer choice because he's been part of the NFL for a while now. And at the end of the day, I call Urban Meyer the boomer bust guy, but let's not get it twisted. Bieniemy could be a boom coach as well. Like, he has, in my opinion, all the tools to be a successful coach. So I think people are a little turned off by Urban Meyer because there is a risk right there.
All right, let's go to the West Coast. Bring in our friend Maurice Jones-Drew. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Few people love the Jacksonville Jaguars. We want to see the Jaguars do well more than Maurice Jones-Drew. Before I get to Trevor Lawrence, man, let me ask you what Austin was just talking about. You're a player. Let's go back to let's just say you're a player right now. You're a player in that locker room. They announce Urban Meyer's the head coach. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you uh-oh? What would be your reaction?
I'd be excited because everywhere Urban's been, you've had success, right? He's a program builder. Now he's never done it in the NFL, and there's a saying for college coaches. Well, Pete Carroll said this in his book that when you coach in college, you can recruit 15 first-rounders, which we've seen Urban Meyer do at Florida. We've seen it at Ohio State. We even saw it at Utah, to be honest with you, with Alex Smith. In the NFL, you get 1 or 2 first-round picks, right? So you don't get the chance to recruit. You can't turn a program around as fast in the National Football League as you can in college. But Urban's been successful everywhere he's gone. And so I think that's what gets all the fans excited is that, look, he left Florida, or he went to Florida. Florida won national championships, successful first-round picks all over the place. They were winning everything. Leaves there, does TV for a little bit, goes to Ohio State. National championships, Zeke Elliott, they start putting out guys left and right. Marcus Lattimore, all these guys are coming out. So he can identify talent. He understands what talent looks like. I just don't think it'll be turned around as quickly as when he comes to, obviously if he's the coach for the Jaguars. I understand where Austin is talking about because if you look at Eric Bieniemy's track record, and he was a coach of mine. He was my running back coach in college. But before me, he had Chris Brown, who played for the Houston Texans, who was up for the Heisman at Colorado. Then he had, Adrian Peterson at Minnesota. He had Chester Taylor at Minnesota. He's coached some of the better running backs in the game. And then he becomes the OC, and all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP and league MVP in the 2 years he's coached them. So he has a track record of success as well, but he has a track record of success in the National Football League. And so I think there's a lot of coaches out there that you can go from. I know Bieniemy and Urban Meyer are the top two. But as a player, I'd be excited for anyone that comes in because it's a breath of fresh air. But you don't know what you get until you get that coach. You don't know how that coach is going to be. You don't know if it's going to be very similar to what you've had or if it's going to be complete opposite. Mo, and we don't know if it's complete opposite, if it's going to be successful.
Mo, it's great to hear from you, man. And you mentioned it yourself. Eric Bieniemy is a big name right now, and you had him as a running backs coach. And I'm sure, obviously his philosophy has probably changed a little bit back, I think, was it in 2005 when he was there coaching you? So it's
I've known him since I've been 17. So he's definitely changed since then.
Okay, I got you. So he's obviously changed. He's adapted like any good coach should. Like, what type of coach would teams be getting in terms of personality, in terms of demeanor, if Eric Bieniemy was indeed their head coach, do you think?
Oh, well, first and foremost, everyone's going to be held accountable. It doesn't matter how good you are as a player, how bad you are as a player, how good you are as a person. Like, he's going to hold you accountable. And I can give you a great example. I just turned. This might have been my sophomore or junior year, and I was the oldest running back in the room. And before I was old, obviously I was a freshman. And if any of us got in trouble, we all would have to we'd all have to run or roll or whatever it might have been. And I didn't know that whoever the oldest person was before me was Manuel White, who played for the Washington Redskins at the time, now the football team. It didn't matter what someone did younger. We all got punished, and he forced us to really police ourselves, if that makes sense, right? So as I became older, one of my roommate missed a treatment or something, and we all had to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and he made us roll because of him. Wow. And it forces you to police your locker room. So I don't know if he'll be able to do that in the National Football League or not, but I'm sure he's adapted to make people hold each other accountable. But those are the little things that you have to do as a coach. And so for me, I think you're going to get a guy who has a high football IQ, played in the National Football League for 9 years. He can relate to everyone in the locker room, from the quarterback or to the janitor. He's a guy that's very detailed in his work. One of the reasons, and Austin, you never saw this, but I used to have notebooks on top of notebooks for each game, right? So each game we'd have we'd have a notebook to write our notes down in each game.
Sure.
Every 2 or 3 games, I'd have a whole new notebook because he taught me to be detailed in everything that I did. Not just the playbook, but having a notebook of understanding the D coordinator, what he likes to do in certain situations. So when I left Jacksonville and I went to Oakland to play, I actually played against Wade Phillips. And I knew in certain situations from the time I was detailed in Jacksonville when we played him for the Texans, that in crucial situations, he wants to go cover 0. And he has a tree of defensive coordinators that abide by that rule. And so I was able to use notebooks from back then to utilize my last year in the NFL to help me play faster. And so he's a teacher on top of that, right? So now you have a guy that's going to hold people accountable. He can relate to everyone. He's a teacher, and he's going to teach guys how, concepts, how to be a better football player, the different techniques, all those little things. And then last but not least, he's brutally honest. And I think as an athlete, as a professional athlete, that's what you want. Tell me what I can do. Tell me if I'm doing what you want me to do. And if I can't, I understand that you'll have to find someone else to do it. But don't tell me I'm doing a great job and then behind closed doors say, oh, I can't work with this guy.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Without a doubt. That's huge.
And so I believe that when you're getting Eric Bieniemy, you're getting those 4 qualities, and those are the best qualities in a head coach. Because, and Brent, we've talked about this. I don't know if you know this, Austin, but I always blow Brent up on Twitter.
So I've heard.
I blow him up. I do it all caps too because Brent's my guy, and we've had a great relationship. I've been there, and I've been able to confide in him certain things, and he's a great person. But a head coach is not a coach anymore. You become a manager of expectations and personalities and situations. That's what you become, and so you do less coaching as a head coach and you do more managing. And so he's been able to manage some of the bigger personalities in the National Football League. Adrian Peterson, big personality. A Jamal Charles, big personality. You see him on the sidelines with his back and forth with Travis Kelce, big personality, right? And yet those guys will go to war for him because he holds them accountable. He's not going to allow Travis Kelce to not go out there and block on a run play. If he I've had conversations with him. He told me, if Travis Kelce doesn't block, he doesn't catch a pass. Period. We'll pull him out on pass plays then. That is holding people accountable and forcing the best, forcing the best out of them at every play.
Maurice Jones-Drew with us here on Action Sports Shacks on ESPN 690. Hey, awesome stuff, by the way, on Eric Bieniemy, who reportedly did interview with the Jaguars today. He's on everybody's list except for, crazily enough, the Houston Texans, who many people thought he would be going to in the middle of the season when they made a coaching change. But awesome stuff on Eric Bieniemy. Now let's ask you about Trevor Lawrence. He declares for the 2021 NFL Draft.
Well, hang on.
Hey, don't worry about this.
No, he's got to worry about it, Brent, because here's the thing. Well, all right, so I'm not sure if you saw it, but I actually made a little video thing regarding the Avengers. And it was basically the entire Jacksonville media rallying around against the national media and saying, we're not going to take the slander. We're not going to take the hate. We're in this together. And I included you in there because I thought we're all on the same page here. We're getting Trevor Lawrence. Everything is going to be hunky-dory. And then behold my surprise. When I include you in the video and a couple days later, Mo, you say that Trevor Lawrence may not be the number one pick.
I'm not saying that he's not the number one pick. That's not what I was saying. What I was saying was make sure you do all your homework, right? Don't just say, like, he played well as a freshman at Clemson. He won a national championship. He's only lost 2 games. Like, he's the lock number one pick. You never do that. You never just do that. You make sure that you dive in and you do your film study on the left tackle from Oregon. You make sure you do your film study on the top defensive player. You make sure you do the film study on all the quarterbacks. It may be, hey, and at the end of the day, as much as as a lot of people love Trevor Lawrence, maybe whoever that head coach is doesn't like him. And so maybe that isn't the first pick for the Jaguars, right? It needs to be a fit with the coach and the quarterback because guess what? When you draft a quarterback as the first overall pick, if you look at it across the league where, Jameis Winston or, a high pick, even Blake Bortles, for example, for the Jags, you are tied at the hip with that guy as a coach and as a GM. And so you want to make sure – you just don't want to go in and say, hey, you know what, we know this is the guy, this is going to be the guy. You want to make sure you do your due diligence and you find out, like, okay, is this the guy we're going to, put the livelihood of our organization in his hands? And it may be. But I'm just saying, pump your brakes. Like, slow down. Like, let's not just be like, hey, because, again, all of Jacksonville media is like, you're crazy. He's the guy. He's done this. He's the best thing since John Elway, like Andrew Luck. But my concern is he's never played in the NFL. He's played on a team that has been the top recruited team for the last 10 years. He's played with a ton of talent. And when you're going to if you're the number one pick, the team that you're playing on is not going to be as talented as it was in college. And so all I'm saying is, all I'm saying is just do your due diligence. That's it.
And by the way,
still may be the number one pick.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Listen, I asked this question to Austin a couple weeks ago. I said, are we in love with Trevor Lawrence, or are we in love with the idea of Trevor Lawrence and the fact that he's the number one pick and the Jags now have the number one pick? And so I think that's kind of what you're saying in essence. It's not that Trevor Lawrence isn't the guy. It's just that make sure you vet all these other guys and just don't feel compelled to necessarily take Trevor Lawrence because everybody's talking about him. Although it does feel, the more you read and see and everything else, the guy's the real deal. Let me ask you this, Mojo. You've played, obviously been around quarterbacks much like Austin. What are you looking for then? What are you trying to find out when you meet with this guy at the Combine, his pro day? Because you've seen enough tape. You know what that is. But what are you trying to find out to just solidify the fact that Trevor Lawrence can be the guy for this franchise?
Okay, so 2 things real quick before I answer that one. One, when I study the tape of a guy, I would rather take a quarterback in college that does more with less. If you're a quarterback that you're throwing to first-round picks and they're wide open and they're creating separation in college, let's remember in the National Football League, the separation is going to be much smaller, right? It's not going to be as wide open, and it's not going to be like that. And so I'd rather take a quarterback that's done more with less. That's always been my thing. Like, give me a quarterback from the MAC that's throwing to guys that are 4th, 6th, 7th round picks, but he's throwing for thousands of yards, right? Those are the more successful guys in our football league. Or if you have a guy, for example, I always go with Big Ben. The reason I feel like Big Ben is a success is because he was throwing for thousands of yards at Miami of Ohio.
Correct,
right?
Yeah. Well, and
so
even like
he gets to the
Josh Allen's a good example too, Mo. I think Josh Allen's a good example coming from Wyoming.
A great example. Tell me who got drafted from Wyoming when he was out. Like, you don't know that. But then you pair him with Stephon Diggs, all of a sudden the dude's one of the top passers in the National Football League. Like, you put talent around, all of a sudden his talent and everything, all the things that you saw, they show up. So that's one of my things with scouting a quarterback. Now, what I'm looking for from Trevor Lawrence when I meet with him, I need to know, first of all, I got to do all my duties, make sure you work hard, right? Now, and I can teach you how to watch tape, and I can teach you how to do those other things. I can't teach you to be at the building at 5 a.m. every morning watching tape. I can't teach you doing that, right? I think that's one of the issues that the Washington football team had with Dwayne Haskins. Again, I don't know, but early on it was like he's not showing up early. He's not putting the work in. You got to, as a quarterback, you pretty much live at the facility. I remember, and Brent, I don't know if I ever told you, I remember as a rookie, Byron Leftwich grabbed me and said, hey, since you're going to be our third down back, you need to come in here. You need to be with me at 5:30 in the morning. We're going to watch tape and protection so you know what's going on each week. Because if you're going to protect me, I need you to be like this offensive line. They need to know the ins and outs. You need to know who you're blocking and why you're blocking them in these protections. Now, B. Left was doing that, in Jacksonville, but we were up at 5:30 every morning, Tuesday through Thursday. I told him I can't do it on Fridays because I need to get my rest for the game. But Tuesday through Thursday, we were up at 5:30 watching protection, studying the team against us. That you have to have that as a quarterback. That has to be in you. That can't be taught. All right? The other thing is leader of men. You have to be able to say, you know what? The guys in the locker room may say, hey, you know what? We don't want to practice today. You have to stand up and say, you know what? We are practicing today, and we are going to do what we have to do. But that has to be in you. You have to be a vocal leader. You have to do everything the right way. And so those are the things that you look for in a quarterback, and what I'd be looking for in Trevor Lawrence. All the physical attributes and all the things we see on tape, you're great. That's awesome. But now you're the number one pick. You're becoming the face of our franchise. You're becoming the leader of our organization. And everyone's going to take whatever you do, they're going to do that times 10. So if you're showing up late, guess what? Everybody's going to show up late. If you're showing up early and you're putting the work in, guess what? Everybody's going to show up early and put the work in. This is what happens. And so that's all. Again, it goes back to my point of making sure that you do your due diligence and that he does everything the right way. I don't know what he does because I haven't talked to him or anyone at Clemson. I'm sure he puts the work in. I mean, you don't win, that many games without putting the work in. But I want to make sure you do it the right way and the way it needs to be done.
I think that's fair enough, too. Go ahead, Austin.
Talking to Jaguars great here. Maurice Jones-Drew, an NFL Network analyst now. Mo, you said it yourself. Like, the guy's a winner. And I feel like when you hear, talking heads on the networks talk about Trevor Lawrence, or even us talk about, or even scouts talk about, is the guy's won wherever he's been. Do we put too much stake into the wins and losses? And as a former player and as a guy who shared the locker room with a lot of quarterbacks, do you think we put way too much stake in terms of, well, this guy's a winner wherever he went, he's gonna win in the NFL too? Should we stop kind of that narrative?
I don't think so, because the winning, and also that was one of the things that I did a horrible job at when I was in Jacksonville. And I think I told Uche this one time, since I've retired and I've got a chance to look back at my career, I wish I would have challenged all of us to stay in Jacksonville and train our butts off together, right? Mm-hmm. I was a winner in high school. Never lost a game in high school. Went to UCLA, and we turned a program that went 6-6 my freshman year to 10-2, and we were ranked in the top 10 in the country my last year, right? And so when I got to Jacksonville, I was like, oh, we're going to turn this thing around like that. But I didn't do I felt like I didn't do the things necessary to get everyone to buy in and help out. And so that's the biggest thing about when you have a winning quarterback, because we all know this. There's two the way you become a leader of the team. One, you're the starting quarterback, and two, whoever the highest paid player on the team is. Mm-hmm. Those are the leaders. Everyone does what those players do. And so, however, Trevor Lawrence has been a winner, just like Justin Fields has been a winner everywhere he's been. I mean, those two are tied at the hip. They were the same in high school. They've been the same in college. This is kind of how it goes. But to me, when you win, how did you win? Was it because you were the more talented team in high school? Is that why you won? Was it because, or was it because you worked really hard and everyone bought in and everyone followed you and you led those men into battle, into some tough situations, and you rose up through adversity, right? In college, is it, you went to Clemson, you went to one of the top if not the top program in the country, like them in Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. When you hit some adversity, how did you fight through those things? Because in the National Football League, the one thing that's different than anywhere else in the National Football League, everyone's talented, everyone has dudes, mm-hmm. and you're going to go through some adversity, guaranteed. I don't care if it's a team that just won the Super Bowl. I'll give you a great example because I call the games for the Rams on radio. They went to the Super Bowl one year, the next year, and they lost. The next year, they didn't make the playoffs. So you're going to run through adversity throughout the course of your NFL career. Are you able to fight through that and lead these troops through? And that's what I think GMs and head coaches, when they see a winner, they assume that those things happen throughout your career. I hate to assume things. That's why I say you have to do your due diligence to make sure that when you're picking this first pick, is more than just how good is he on the football field. It's what is he? Has he been through adversity? How has he fought through adversity? What are some of the things that he's done to, get everyone to rally around when you have some adverse situations?
Yeah, I think it's a great point, too. And that's actually my number one thing. If I had a question to ask at the Combine in an interview setting or a dig up at Clemson, what is this guy going to do in reaction to losing? What if you lose more games in the first month of your NFL career than you did in your entire college career? The guy hasn't lost much. And so I do think it's a fair question. I want to know, how is he going to respond to adversity? I think it's a great point. Hey, we got to let you run in just a couple moments, but I got to do some rapid fire with you. I bet you're proud of Tony Baselli getting to be a finalist once again. Hopefully this is the year. But what's your frustration level about your good buddy Fred Taylor still not getting enough momentum and consideration for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's definitely it is frustrating because when you look at what Fred's done against the guys that have been in the Hall of Fame, like, he's dominated them. I mean, we've played – I remember playing against Urlacher. I remember playing against other guys with him, and Fred has played lights out against those guys. Against some of the top defenses Fred has played well against. I just think that, early on, before, like, social media, before all these other things where everyone had, like, a national market, Jacksonville wasn't that. And so a lot of people didn't see his games. You don't get to watch his highlights. But if you watch his tape – and, again, we can't expect all the voters of the Hall of Fame to watch everyone's full career tape. But if you watch his tape, you'll know that he's definitely worthy of getting in there. I mean, I work with Terrell Davis. I work with LaDainian Thompson. Like, LT used to look up to Fred, right? I remember playing the Chargers and LT going up and saying something to Fred, right? Like, so those things, like, it sucks that he's not in there because he definitely deserves it. But it's just one of those things that he has to keep fighting.
Okay, real quick, how much does Jalen Ramsey miss us since you're around the Rams?
Listen, I don't know if Jalen Ramsey misses you guys, but it sure thinks that the Jags miss Jalen Ramsey. He only gave it one touchdown this year?
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane, the numbers,
so he's pretty
the stats.
Good. He's pretty good, I guess.
Go figure.
And the funny thing is the crazy part is because when he came here, the Rams are like, what are we getting? I'm like, look, I just know if you put him on the number one receiver, he's not going to catch a pass. And literally, he's done that. I think Stephon Diggs caught the only touchdown, but he had 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. That was on a 2-yard line, where he ran like a back-end line late and caught a pass from Josh Allen. Like, Jalen's serious. But, things happen and people move on, and the Jags got a really good corner in Henderson, so hopefully he works out for him.
Yeah. Not that good. Not Jalen Ramsey type. Okay, one more for me, then one more for Austin. Appreciate your time. Maurice Jones-Drew here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Hey, it looked like they really rallied around John Wolford, Jacksonville kid. I haven't seen anything out of L.A. I don't know what's going on with Goff and Wolford for this weekend, but that was a great performance by him. You got to call the game.
Yeah, well, so it's funny. I called his first game in the AAF, too, and when I got a chance to meet with him, he was like, I watched you when I was in Jacksonville, and I didn't know he was from Jacksonville at the time. And I was like, oh, man. And so you knew he had the ability to make all the throws. You knew he was going to struggle a little bit because it's your first NFL game. Like, no matter if you say, I'm just going to go out there and play, you're going to have nerves. The first pass he throws is intercepted. But once he started getting comfortable and got in the flow of the game, he started running a little bit. You saw the offense just kind of take off. And they moved the ball up and down the field, and the defense rallied around them. And I think the defense scored 9 points, and the Cardinals scored 7. So that tells you how good that defense is. But they're going to need a little bit more from the offense this week. And no one really knows. Like, Jared had thumb surgery 2 Mondays ago. They don't know if he'll be able to play on Saturday or not. But the good thing is you have a quarterback that has experience, and you can go up there and win. Your team is really good, and they match up well against the Seahawks.
I got one last question. This question is out of just pure curiosity because I've always wanted to ask somebody that's close to the Rams. Obviously, it doesn't get better than you, Mo. To me, the Rams as a team, they're an enigma. And the reason why I say that is because if I name any team in the NFL, I can tell you who that star of that team is. When we talk about the L.A. Rams, we talk about Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Sean McVay, and maybe Jared Goff because he plays the quarterback position, obviously. In your opinion, who's the biggest star of that team, and who's the most talked about player in that city?
Well, I mean, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, they're the most talked about, but the biggest offensive star is probably Robert Woods. Him or Cooper Kupp, to be honest with you. Those two, I mean, they're both number one receivers. They just don't get a lot of credit for it. But Robert Woods, and you know this, Austin, I remember in 2011, we weren't having the best season, but our receivers were out there blocking like fullbacks out there. Right? And I appreciate the news for that.
Yeah.
Robert Woods, he blocks like that. He runs the ball, is one of the best route runners they have, and goes across the middle all the time to catch the ball. Cooper Kupp does the exact same thing. They have plays where they pull their receiver and they lead block up the hole for the running back, right? So this is it's an unselfish team, and they're very talented. And again, like I feel like, and this is just my opinion, when they're playing well on offense, they can beat anybody in the National Football League except for the 49ers. But that's neither here nor there. But they match up well with all the teams, and we'll see how things go. But if they don't turn the ball over on offense, they might be like 13-3, 14-2 right now. But they've had some horrible games where they turned the ball over 5 or 6 times, 4 or 5 times in games, and it's cost them. So we'll see how. They're the matter of fact. I'm gonna give you a stat here. They're the only team to make the playoffs that's turned the ball over in every game this year. Crazy, right?
Stat.
Interesting.
Great stat.
But they have the number 1 scoring defense in the National Football League, and that's why they're able to do that.
Wow.
So,
yeah, they're in every game. They can make up for some
Complimentary
mistakes,
football.
no doubt about it. Maurice Jones-Drew. Hey, by the way, Robert Woods, I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. He went to the same high school at the same time as Marquise Lee, former Jags receiver. And you bring up that Byron Leftwich story. The most underrated part of Maurice Jones-Drew's game is blocking ability, picking up protection. So there you go. Byron Leftwich should get some credit for that.
I saw the Sean Merriman highlight when I was in high school. Not very underrated, but okay.
That's good. That's true. That is a special highlight.
Yeah. Come on now.
All right, Maurice Jones-Drew, keep blowing up my phone, man. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, hey, and make sure you guys pass a note over to Shad that I'm willing to come and consult if he needs to. Go Jags.
That train has not left the station.
Use them.
Yeah, that train will never leave the station. I won't let it. So we're good to go.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Good spending time with Maurice Jones-Drew. And we could have spent a whole show with him, Austin Lane.
Man, I want to get into talking offense a little bit. That 12 formation, but we just didn't have the time, Brent.
It's always good to catch up. First of all, I've always liked Maurice Jones-Drew, but I love how much he wants to see this organization do well.
Yeah.
And even though he's way out west now, he's not around here all the time. I just appreciate that about Maurice Jones-Drew. I think the fans should too. And we'll talk more to Maurice as we get into it.
Do we get Eric Bieniemy shirts now or tomorrow?
That was pretty good. When we're getting Maurice on, I didn't anticipate going that in depth on Bieniemy, but it was awesome stuff to hear him talk about Bieniemy, who interviewed today for the job with the Jaguars. That's tremendous on Eric Bieniemy, and Maurice Jones-Drew knows him well. We'll be back. Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Partly cloudy tonight, dropping into the low 40s, increasing cloudiness and breezy, and quite mild for Thursday. Highs near 70. There'll be some rain at night. From the First Alert Weather Center, I'm Action News Jax Chief Meteorologist Mike Burrish.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, where you get the lowest diamond price guaranteed or your...
Happy holidays from the team at Seawater. This holiday season, our gift to you is cleaner. A Kinetico system from CGC Water removes up to 99% that's clean. Right now, CGC Water is offering a free A200 reverse osmosis drinking water system of a Kinetico Premier Softener like the one we have at our home. If you're still not filtering your water, you are the filter. Schedule your free water test today and get peace of mind knowing your family's water is safe water. CGC is still taking extra precautions with in-home visits and continuing to follow CDC guidelines. Remember now, this is a limited time offer. A free A200 reverse osmosis drinking water system with the purchase of a Kinetico Premier Softener. Special holiday financing available for a limited time with approved credit. Call 904-552-1242 for details or visit cgcwater.com. Serving Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia, CGC Water Treatment, your local independent Kinetico dealer. Have a happy and safe holiday season.
Dang it, Tom Casey.
A customer came up to me the other day to say she found herself saying exactly that.
Dang it, Tom Casey.
Because she walked into a friend's home with a Florida-rated AC system and could feel the difference. Now that's a good thing, but this particular customer had mixed feelings about replacing her not that old AC. On the one hand, she was excited about being way more comfortable in her own home. no more sticky humidity. Fortunately, she reached out and I offered her upgrade options that gave her the comfort she wanted without replacing her system or costing more than her budget. So if you've been wondering if that whole Florida rated thing I'm always talking about is for real, yeah, it is. And if you're interested in upgrading, now is the perfect time. Because I'll let you in on a little secret. As a premium service provider, I generally don't discount, but I'll certainly do a little pencil sharpening during the slow season for customers ready to upgrade to the Griffin service experience. If that's you, call me at
griffinservice.com.
License number 1250697.
Boss, have you heard the latest about the ding-dong doorbell cameras?
What, more employees spying on customers?
Nope.
Hackers again?
No, boss, this time they had to recall over 350,000 video doorbells.
Recall? What happened?
A bunch of them caught fire.
Whoa, unbelievable. It's one thing after another with them.
Yeah. Notice you never heard that with Safe Touch's video cameras?
Well, now you're just comparing a Bentley with a bumper car.
Exactly. I just don't understand why any homeowner wouldn't go with Safe Touch.
Yeah, their video monitoring's virtually hack-proof. Oh, and here's a bonus. Safe Touch cameras don't burst into flames.
No kidding.
It's just a good thing not everyone knows about Safe Touch, because we gotta stick to the Crooks R Us golden rule. Stay away from Safe Touch houses.
Yeah, don't gotta tell me twice.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
We should always be looking at our finances, but 2020 made my family take an even closer look, a bit more of a deeper dive, and it might have done the same for you, even into the world of retirement. Although that's a bit down the road for me, it might be closer for you, and your plan should already be under a microscope, and you have to lean on the experts to help guide the right plan. My friend Mike Lester with Talon Wealth Management is the perfect partner. He will provide a complimentary analysis and a plan for you. Call him at 904-515-5000 or visit guardingyournestegg.com. That's 904-515-5000 or guardingyournestegg.com. Mike will give you the guidance you need as retirement gets closer. He can help you convert company plans to private plans, a move that might give you higher returns and more options. You've earned the money. Now make sure you are ready for whenever retirement will be. Call Mike Lester at Talon Wealth Management, 904-515-5000. That's 904-515-5000 or visit guardingyournestegg.com.
Nothing is certain except death and taxes. And your appliance is breaking down as soon as they're out of warranty. At Atlantic Coast Appliance, we can't help with the first two, but we've got the third one covered. Our factory-trained and certified technicians have been repairing appliances for more than 35 years, with a 90-day warranty on parts and labor and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For quality repair at a price that's fair, trust Atlantic Coast Appliance. AtlanticCoastAppliance.com. That's AtlanticCoastAppliance.com.
Boss, hit the gas!
What's going on? You were supposed to check to see if that house had anyone home. Now their porch is on fire.
Boss, I didn't do it. The ding-dong doorbell camera just burst into flames and started melting.
Oh, so it's true. Those things are fire hazards.
Yeah, and now we know another big difference between those cheap ding-dong doorbell cameras and a Safe Touch security system.
Well, yeah, with Safe Touch, homeowners don't have to worry about their video cameras getting hacked.
Or employees spying on customers.
Or bursting into flames.
Uh-oh. Fire department's coming, boss. Time to go.
I'm way ahead of you. By the way, your eyebrows are completely gone.
Oh, well. Maybe it's an improvement.
Just so I know you still got your senses, recite the Crooks R Us golden rule again.
Stay away from Safe Touch houses. Don't worry. It's burned into my brain.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson, president of Safe Touch Security Systems. No one beats our technology or our price.
Call Safe Touch today at 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license number EF233.
No matter what you are driving, you can step up to luxury now at any of the Fields Auto Group dealerships in Jacksonville. Cadillac, Jaguar, Land Rover, Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche. Yes, it's luxury for less at all Fields Auto Group locations in Jacksonville. Plus, you'll also be part of their exclusive Fields Amenities program, where you will get complimentary loaners, car washes, and cafes. So whatever you're driving, see Fields first and step up to luxury for less during this amazing opportunity. Visit fieldsauto.com.
For the ones standing guard. For the eagle-eyed. For the knights in shining armor. And for all those who support them. We are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. Committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Slip and falls can be embarrassing, leaving you in pain and feeling like you've lost control. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. After a fall, document the scene by taking photographs. Make sure to get medical attention for any injuries you may have. If you've been injured in a slip and fall, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000 for a free consultation. And take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
Happy Hump Day. I'm Jake Mitchell. Last night, the most prestigious award in college football was awarded to Alabama wide receiver Devonta Smith. Here he is on what it's like to win.
It's just unbelievable. Just coming from a small place like that, you just really have to work it day in and day out and just believe in yourself. And if don't nobody else believe you, you just have to believe in yourself and just prove everybody wrong.
He is the first receiver to win a Heisman since Desmond Howard in 1991. Presumed number one pick and probably future Jag Trevor Lawrence finished second in the Heisman voting. Speaking of the Jags, they have requested to interview with Saints VP, Assistant GM of Pro Personnel, Terry Fontenot, to fill the vacant GM job. The SportsCenter update is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
To me, it's just like, don't just go out there and be like, hey, we're taking Trevor, we're just taking him. Like, make sure that he is the right guy that fits whatever system that you pick, right? If you're going to pick, let's say, if you're going to pick Urban Meyer, right? Maybe Urban Meyer likes Justin Fields more. The same thing, Ohio State, that's what he did when he was there. It's his system they're running. Maybe he wants Justin Fields. Or if you, let's say, if you go with Eric Bieniemy, we don't know who the quarterback may be. He may like the guy from BYU, right? So it depends on the coach and the system that they want to run if Trevor Lawrence fits that.
That was Maurice Jones-Drew, joined us really for much of the last half hour, talking a bunch of things. John Wolford, Jalen Ramsey, the Rams, Fred Taylor, and a lot about the Jags coaching search and also Trevor Lawrence. And he didn't say, hey, I don't like Trevor Lawrence at number one. He just said, let's make sure we're doing our due diligence here. There's a bunch of different guys that can play that position, and make sure the match is exactly what you think it is and what we all believe it is. And some great stuff, by the way, on Eric Bieniemy along the way. So if you missed that in the 5 o'clock hour, make sure you check it out on the Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 podcast. Subscribe to it, listen to it. It'll be the 5 o'clock hour. Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah, I think the overall synopsis of, Maurice Jones-Drew saying that Trevor Lawrence might not be the top pick, to kind of repeat what you said a little bit, like, yeah, do your due diligence. And I think he's kind of driving home the point a little more that we were always told in NFL locker rooms from coaches, where it's like you can never get too comfortable. And one would think that if you're the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in, you're the GM, well, Trevor Lawrence is the pick, right? So you can kind of get comfortable now, right? You can kind of go, oh, well, we got the top pick taken care of. Let's put it in cruise control and go to the next pick. I think what the point that Jones-Drew's trying to drive home here is the fact that, yes, Trevor Lawrence may in fact be the guy, but just still, like, don't do yourself a disservice and not work hard on this thing, right? Like, study him, right? Ask him the right questions at the combine. Do your research, and that way you know for sure.
Well, I think I'm going to give you an example, okay? A few weeks back, remember after the couple of games, Northwestern and Indiana for Justin Fields, and so I asked a couple people about Fields, and I was just inquiring. These are like NFL people and people that are around it way more than me and know more about it than me. And so I was asking around this, I don't know if I haven't been completely sold on Fields. Like, that was one of the responses. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, I like him, Mm-hmm. And what eventually happened in that conversation is, this was when the Jags were picking number 2. I was like, well, I mean, so you could take Wilson, and that person basically said, hey, I think they could be compelled, even if they do have some doubts, compelled to take Justin Fields at number 2, because the wave will be, it's Lawrence and Fields. Mm-hmm. And I found that very interesting, right? And so I think that's what Mojo's talking about. That's what we're talking about a little bit. Right now, you're going to be compelled to take Trevor Lawrence. Just make sure being compelled adds up to what your eyes and everything else leads to.
Just don't get comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have a job to do. work hard at it, even if it is the surefire pick. Still do your due diligence. Do not get comfortable.
I want to ask you about this quarterback class in just a moment, but a couple things to finish up. And one, I'm watching the Queen's Gambit. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah, you locked into it now? No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm like 4 episodes in.
Okay.
Kuz, you seen it?
I have not.
Everybody's talking about it.
I mean, come on. Why am I the cool guy here?
Oh,
Yeah. Everybody's seen it. It's not the cool thing?
I mean, it is kind of the cool thing, but you also didn't watch the whole thing of Tiger King, so how cool could you really be?
That's true.
I thought I was with you, man. I thought we're a team, and now you're watching Queen's Gambit.
Well, this is totally different than that charade.
Okay.
But
Tell him, Brent. Tell him it's different from that charade.
Yeah, I never finished Tiger King. Here's my quick thought, okay? And last night's episode got a little better, so episode 4. But the first 3 were like, I like it. Like I'm cool with it.
Okay.
But I'm just like, wow, I'm so surprised that this is catching everybody. This is like, oh, this is awesome. Like I haven't seen a bad review for this thing.
Yep.
And I've just been a little surprised because I thought I was a little bit different than the masses in a lot of different ways. And I would think this would be very slow going, and it's like, okay, get on with it. But people are there for the ride. I will say this. It's got nothing – my thought on that has nothing to do with chess. The chess part of it is actually fascinating.
Okay.
But and it's good. I think it's very good. I'm just a little bit surprised that it's so overwhelmingly positive in terms of everybody's reactions. I thought some people would be like, that's too slow for me or too whatever for me. And, again, I'm only like – I don't even know how many episodes there are. I'm like on episode 5 I'm going into.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest, Brent. You're not doing anything for me right now in terms of hyping this thing up because all you've told me is that it gets better in the 4th episode. You're surprised everybody likes it, and the chess is actually pretty good. Can you give me a Brent Martineau movie synopsis, please, or TV show synopsis so I can at least have some kind of idea what this thing's about?
Well, and I don't know exactly. Like, I don't know where the end game's going. I guess that's why probably I like it.
Okay.
Like, I kind of get what it is, and I feel like there's going to be something more to it.
Huh.
I feel like there's a couple storylines going on. I feel like there's going to be something more to it. We'll see. Listen, I don't watch a lot of these things, but we're enjoying it. But it's just people aren't patient. I'm so surprised that people are all locked into this. I really am.
All I know of this show right now is that it's not really about chess, but the chess is cool.
Well, it is about
episode,
chess.
It gets better. And when I ask you, describe it, you go, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I don't want to give it away.
Okay. You know what? Then I might have to give it a temptation. I might have to give it a peer pressure and check it out.
You watch it and see what you think.
Do you think I would like it?
Yeah, I think you'll appreciate it. I think you will. I really think if you like sports, you kind of appreciate it from a different view.
Okay.
Because there's so much competition involved in it. You know?
Okay.
And that like prodigy kind of way. If it was tennis or baseball or football.
Yeah.
We'd be like, oh, right?
Yep.
And I think that brings that part on. So anyway,
Okay.
I'm just interested in why, again, I'm to the point where if I like something, most people probably aren't going to love it.
For sure.
Or if somebody else loves something, like you name it, whatever they love, popular song, movie, whatever, Star Wars, like I usually am not into that.
Sure.
So it's just surprising that we're all on the same page on this one.
Okay, the stars are aligning. All right.
A little bit, yeah. So anyway, best quarterback class. Like, historically, everybody says 1983, unbelievable. I think, and I'm not going to sit here and over-dramatize and say I think it can be 1983. I think this quarterback class is going to be really good, man. I do. I think these guys – there's a place for these 5 guys that I'm thinking of. Actually, 6. By the way, I forget about Trey Lance all the time. But there's a place for these 6 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
From – Lawrence to Fields to Wilson to Lance to Trask to Jones. That could all land them, by the way, in the first, conservatively speaking, let's say 40 picks.
Yeah.
And I think they really – now, history says they're not going to all be good. But I think we might have some really, really good quarterbacks out of this class. I guess that's the moral of the story. How do you feel about the class in totality?
No, absolutely. Like, to me, it's not like the Queen's Gambit where it's like, well, let's see what happens. Like, well, it might be good. I'm not really sure what to make of it. let's see what happens. No, like this is going to be special in my opinion, because if you look at this class, the top 6 quarterbacks here, Brent, it's got everything, right? It's got maybe the once-in-a-generational player in Trevor Lawrence. It has the player in Justin Fields that any other year we would probably be all over this guy talking about him right now. But unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence right now is hogging a lot of the spotlight, even despite the fact that Fields pretty much outplayed him, let's be honest, in that last game. So you have Justin Fields. You have an ultimate wild card guy in Trey Lance. Like, listen, in any other season, you have a pretty good idea of what a quarterback can bring to the table, right? Because we have the season to go off of, regardless of where you play. Trey Lance played in 1 game this season. We know nothing about this guy. This is the ultimate boomer bust guy. So we got a little bit of that. We got a little bit of a front runner in Zach Wilson, where we've seen him play at, maybe a little lower level competition. Can he transition to the NFL? And then we got 2 Heisman hopefuls in Mac Jones and Kyle Trask, who put up ridiculous numbers this year. Is that going to translate to the NFL? So there's a lot of intriguing storylines. It's got a little bit of everything, and I think it could be a very special quarterback class.
I've said this a couple times in the last month too, man, and you know how I feel about it. I believe there are more good quarterbacks than there have ever been playing the sport of football. I believe 7-on-7s. I believe tutelage, specialization of coaches, the understanding of the position. I think it's at an all-time high. I really do. I think if you look across the board, that doesn't mean great quarterbacks will equate to the NFL. I'm just saying at the high school level, college level, and even at the NFL level, we're seeing a lot of teams that like their quarterbacks, even if they're young. I also believe the NFL game is as close as it's ever been to the college game. And so that transition time is easier. And even with guys that don't use their legs as well, Trask and Mac Jones, I think teams are now smart enough to know where they fit. And so where do you see the mock drafts go for a guy like Mac Jones? Well, he goes to the Patriots. Played for Saban, plays for Belichick. Like, that might be a good fit for Mac Jones. He's not going to go to name your team that's going to run, let's just say like Baltimore right now, and the kind of offense they're running. So I think all of that added up says, hey, pretty talented group.
Yeah.
The fit is good. Quarterback play is good right now. Quarterback coaching is very good right now. The league is an offensive league. I'm just going to go on record and say, hey, I think it's going to be one of the best quarterback classes of my lifetime. I really think it's going to be a dynamite group.
And here's the intriguing thing as well, right? Because obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to a team that needs some rebuilding. Justin Fields the same. But when we start getting to guys like maybe Zach Wilson and a Trey Lance, and a Trask and a Mac Jones, like, they could go to good teams and get playing time right away. And if they're on good teams from the get-go, well, then who knows what they're going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, if Trey Lance goes to San Francisco, watch out, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he is who they think he's going to be, he might be the rookie of the year. Who knows? So I just think that in terms of the boom or bust, it's a lot more boom right now than bust.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we'd be remiss if we didn't at least tell you about, and I know you know what's going on, I would assume, seen pictures, Twitter, TV, about the scene in Washington, protests, certainly not peaceful, at the Capitol. That is the big story of the day in our country, which, by the way, does not look like our country, quite frankly. That will be the only statement of that I'll really say on it. But check out WOKV 104.5 for the latest on that on the radio side, and CBS 47 and Fox 30 on the TV side right now in the middle of newscasts and giving you live pictures of that if you haven't seen what's going on. But not a good scene in Washington, D.C. this afternoon, as the transition of power in our country certainly right now doesn't seem like a peaceful one happening. So meanwhile, in the sports world, the Jags conducting interviews reportedly today with Eric Bieniemy, tomorrow Raheem Morris, Saturday Robert Saleh. Somewhere out there on a very quiet Wednesday for the Urban Meyer chatter exists Urban Meyer. Where does he fit on the spectrum of that? Well, we'll see. We'll see if this will start to die down, just stays a little bit of a lull for another day, or we get some more reports popping up over the next hours and days ahead. The big story, though, in sports, Trevor Lawrence declares for the 2021 NFL Draft, and the countdown is on. We started the show with the countdown, Austin. It's now down to 113 days and 2 hours and 10 minutes until he'll be a Jacksonville Jag.
But who's counting? Except
everybody in Jacksonville. All right, man. Have a good night, Cruz, as well. And we'll see everybody again tomorrow. We'll see you on TV tonight, CBS 47 and Fox 30. Thanks for hanging with us. 3 o'clock, Action Sports Shacks on ESPN 690 on Thursday. We'll do it again. We should always be looking at our finances, but 2020 made my family take an even closer look, a bit more of a deeper dive, and it might have done the same for you, even into the world of retirement. Although that's a bit down the road for me, it might be closer for you, and your plan should already be under a